Yeah, and I have it. Yep. All righty. I will call this meeting to order for the City Department budget presentations for Tuesday, June 9th, 2026. And we'll start with Deputy Chief of Staff, John Carlson, to get us started.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council Chair, Council members. I'm John Carlson. I work in the Mayor's office, and I have the great privilege of also working with our budget team and our departments and the City Council as we all work together to put our budget together for 26-28. So today we'll hear from more or less half the departments, and then we'll hear again on Thursday from the other half. They've got a series of slides that they'll walk you through and some numbers and presentations. It's obviously more into details than the mayor's more broad presentation, but still they're big departments, so they're still can't give you every single detail. So it's meant to give you a general idea. The budget team is here to write down in case there are questions or requests for further information, so we can do follow-ups on that. And then we've got weeks after this too, if you want to dig in deeper on particular items with the department. So they're going to try and give you a good overview, and be happy to continue the discussion and the follow-up with questions later.
Alrighty.
So first up, I will throw it off to Kay at Aging Partners.
Woohoo. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome.
Good afternoon, Council Chair Weber and members of the City Council. I'm Kay Wenzel, the Assistant Director at Aging Partners, and I am so pleased to be here before you today and give you information on our upcoming budget. As John said, I'm the leadoff batter. I've never been leadoff batter in my life, so this is kind of fun.
Moving up.
This slide is our organizational chart, very simplified one. Randy Jones, our director, leads 5 major programs. Personal and Family Services covers our social work and information and referral services. Jean, who is the program manager, describes this service as, this is where we go into the home, sit down at the kitchen table, and talk families through services, benefits, and how to get through aging. The next program is Community Activities and Services. Those are things like your senior centers, transportation, health and fitness programs, handy home service, things that contribute to people's safety and well-being in the home. The Medicaid waiver program is a contract through the state Department of Health and Human Services aimed at taking persons who meet nursing facility level of care and receive services in home rather than a more costly facility. Then area-wide programs in nutrition. This covers our coordination with our partner counties, as well as the contracts for home delivered meals, nutrition education, and then making sure that all the nutritional requirements for the meals we serve are met by the federal government. And then the last one is administrative services, and that's kind of the support backbone of the agency with fiscal, contract management, and monitoring. IT, a little bit of HR in there when we need, and quality assurance and monitoring of our contracts and programs at the office. Aging Partners definitely contributes to quality of life for older adults. We enhance daily living in the community, expanding personal choices, and strengthen the community connections so that our older adults can live independently and with dignity, safety, and support across Lincoln, Lancaster County, and then our 7 other partner agency counties. The chart here from City Finance shows the division of funding sources in the city budget. And as you can see, the aging fund is our largest percentage for both years of this biennium. And those are funds that we use for our program services and supports and various offerings. And then in the orange is the grants and aid. And that does not actually include city dollars. Those are the area where we do our coordination with the counties and the county programs. But there's no city funds in that section. And then the general fund, the small percentage of 2%, is our debt service from general funds for Victory Park. Again, this pie chart shows us how we divide up those funds, and personal services, or the personnel part, salary, taxes, and benefits for our staff makes up the biggest chunk, and that's no surprise to anybody. Staff is our most is a valued asset to us. The gray shaded area, which are the other services and charges section, that includes the contracts that we hold that provide direct services to clients, such as our home delivered meal contract, as well as payments for in-home care providers. So services that go directly into the home of clients, and then also support service contracts that we have to help us do our job, like the contracts we have with a couple software companies for data systems and interpreter services covered under that section. We will be just shy of 41 full-time equivalents this year and the next 2 years in the city budget. We try to keep everyone moving forward and assigning assignments that make sense and get people efficient and really good at their jobs so they can do what needs to be done to help our clients. I mentioned the Medicaid waiver program earlier. It is dear to my heart because I managed it when I worked at the state. So it offsets nursing facility costs. It's a large program for us. You can see we've got 51 FTEs and a portion of other indirect staff, $5 million contract from the state of Nebraska Health and Human Services, and we're averaging over 1,200 clients a month on that program. And that's Lincoln, Lancaster, plus our other 7 counties that we serve. They're people who are Medicaid eligible, served in their home or in an assisted living. Medicaid allows, through this waiver program, to pay for non-traditional medical services so that people can stay in their homes. It's so much cheaper. In 2025, the state had some data reports that indicated the average per day nursing facility rate was around $289, and during that same time frame, waiver costs were about $75 to $150 a day. So that's a huge savings. And I realize that's not city dollars, but they are our taxpayer dollars. And the other benefit is the client gets to stay at home or in the community where they really want to be. This graph shows our core services that are laid out as the foundation of the Older Americans Act and kind of where we fall into services. Each area agency on aging provides different services, but some of the core ones are here related to meals, information, caregiver assistance, those types of things that lead to a good quality of life and really can benefit the client and their families as they navigate the aging process. We're really lucky and have good city resources to help expand those programs and services. A couple examples that we do that not all the AAAs do. We have a contract with a law firm who comes in once every 2 weeks and provides in-person individual appointments with clients who tend to be lower income and not able to afford a private attorney's hourly fee. So that's a big help for them to go through powers of attorney and wills and just ask other legal questions related to housing and debt collection and those types of things. Some of the health or the evidence, evidence-based programming is done, and again, not all of the other AAAs do that. We have a pretty broad program of health and fitness services. Excuse me. Lincoln and Lancaster County is continuing to age. I just want to highlight on this chart the top blue section and the yellow section. Those bar sections are increasing as you look over the years, and those are people 80 and over. They're most vulnerable and the most likely to need services because of physical declines and declines in cognition needs. So we get many people who are 80 and over still living at home and need assistance and questions answered. We know we've got lots of new people coming into services as well. The projections are for Lincoln Lancaster County this next year around 1,200 residents 60 and over. If you were in the class of 1984 from high school, that's you, and that's not too far away. At the same time, clients, people who are age 75 and over, we're expecting to have 700 to 900 more in our community. We're very cognizant of the growing need, and so the priorities that we've set forth are expanding services for older adults who are at or below the federal poverty level. We want to try and reach 1 in 8 older adults in Lancaster County, engage older adults who live alone in an effort to reduce social isolation, to continue meeting the rising nutrition needs as costs increase, both our raw food costs for the meals that we serve out of our central kitchen, as well as to offset having a meal provided so that persons who live at home and who are struggling paying for groceries with increased costs have a little bit of relief that way. And then sustain our evidence-based health programming to reduce falls and improve quality of life, better balance, better strength, that sort of thing. We know that not all people who live alone are socially isolated, but it's definitely a contributing factor to social isolation. Ben Middendorf, who you met last week and received the Mayor's Award of Excellence, he really heartfully said it best when he said, they need connections with other people to know they're not alone and that someone knows them by name. We are very excited that the Age-Friendly Lincoln Plan is out and has been released, and we can continue to coordinate with fellow city agencies and other entities on that plan. The highlights include expanding digital literacy for older adults. This helps them in communication with members of their family and healthcare providers, as well as lots of good information on scams and how to avoid being scammed financially, romantically, everything. Promote accessible public transit with StarTran. Encourage age-friendly home and building design, and the steps that council took a while back to loosen regulations relating to ADUs or accessory dwelling units is a good step for us to encourage that. Increase our capacity for information and referral through the Aging and Disability Resource Center by hiring an additional staff person. These are just a few data highlights. You can see we had a large increase in our social activities, and that is not just more people coming into the senior centers, but it really is a thank you and a congratulations to our senior center managers who are figuring out what older adults are interested in doing and what they're interested in not doing at the centers and making their programs such that it's intriguing and attractive to folks. So congregate meals, again, those numbers are up. Some of it is the economy, but we know just it's a good place to come for lunch at one of the centers. And then it kind of goes hand in hand with the assisted transportation. We provide rides door to center and back home again for people who are unable to drive or get to a center on their own. Investing in services that improves the quality of life. Again, we're hiring another full-time person to work in what we call first service, who is charged with providing information and assistance and getting people connected to services. And that position is not funded by city funds. We're using some of our state dollars for that. Sustaining our congregate meal services despite the rising costs, and also updating our handy home service program so that it's run more efficiently and with great reliability. These services all lead to people being able to stay in their home longer and delay a more expensive nursing facility placement. I will take any questions that you've got.
All righty, council, do we have any questions?
I have one.
Councilwoman Washington.
I guess I have two questions. Where does the aging funds originate?
Are you talking our state funds or our?
Part of the budget said aging funds,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm just curious where those funds come from.
Those are yeah.
And the county
Sherry?
as well as.
Sherry, I'm sorry, so that folks at home can hear the answer, that would be great. Yeah.
I'm Sherry Wolf-Derville with the Budget Office, and the Aging Fund consists of some fees, is that the way you would say it? Some program revenues, as well as the city and county share of the Aging Fund.
And do the city and county equal shares?
No,
on
it's,
that?
I don't really want to say this, we kind of say 90-10,
Okay.
roughly.
And then what's the debt service that Aging Partners is paying for?
That's on the Victory Park.
Victory Park, okay, thank you.
Properties. Mm-hmm.
Councilman Duden.
Thanks, Chair. How much is that increase from the previous budget?
The debt service, Or-
Your costs?
I'm not quite following Councilman Duden. The,
I'll have to go back to your slide. I'm looking at the previous year's slide, and I couldn't really match it up with what you're doing this
It
year.
looks like the fiscal year 2025 actual was 5.1 million,
Okay.
and it looks like that the proposed, proposed budgeted for 2026 is 5.2, then 27, 28, 5.3.
Okay. That answers that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah. And that information is right here on the City of Lincoln's budget website under the Aging Partners tab.
I missed it.
Are there other questions? Councilman Bowers.
Thanks so much for everything that you're doing with aging partners. I think, as you've mentioned, the numbers of folks are going to continue to grow in the aging population. When I look at the increase, it's only 2%. And then I think in the next fiscal year, it's like 2.62% or whatever, right? And I'm just kind of wondering, just kind of as a broad overview or statement or a look at, are we investing enough dollars now to prepare for the increasing aging population that we're going to have in the next 10 years or so?
any agency is going to say they would like more money and more funds. Because of the city funds in coordination with the Older American Act funds that we get and other state funds, we're set up pretty well. And that's one of the reasons why we're taking the additional state funds that we've been awarded to hire the full-time resource specialist up in the front area, I call it. Because that person is kind of the navigator and will be one who can take more of the questions for incoming clients.
Great, thank you.
Are there any other questions? I don't have any questions, but I have a request. When going back to the strategic priorities, can you send me additional information of what Aging Partners is doing as it relates to the evidence-based health programming to reduce falls?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really important work, and I want to get a little bit more familiar with that, as well as the work with social isolation for our elderly population. I know the prior Surgeon General pointed that out as a huge priority of the last administration. And I think, our elderly population, we need to be cognizant of social isolation. I also think our young folk in Lincoln, we need to be very aware of social isolation. And I wonder if there is an opportunity to partner by using the tools we have for
I feel like we kind of have built the start of a partnership
Yeah.
with the digital literacy.
Yes.
Because the young adults who are coming in from the university, from some tech and computer classes, are great. And then also there is a group of young tech people who are in the process, who are going through the university and have established their own 501c3 that is aimed at doing digital literacy type work. And they are starting with us, and we're working with them on a volunteer basis. And then I think they'd like to mimic that service statewide with other area agencies on aging and senior centers. So it's really nice to see that connection and the free flow of information that's going back and forth between the generations.
Yeah, no, that's what I want to see more of. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, if I could just get some additional information sent to me, I'd really appreciate it.
You bet.
And I appreciate the work you do. If there, Councilman Duden.
I just want to kind of piggyback on our chair right here. I recently attended a breakfast out at Aging Partners, and the speaker talked about isolation and suicide prevention among senior citizens, and those are the kind of presentations that I think a lot of people need to listen to, even family members that are taking care of their older generation. So
Yeah, caregiver stress is real.
yeah.
Many of us have lived it, and many of it's different being on the professional side and then being in the trenches, and really having a taste of what our families go through.
Right.
But caregiver stress is real, and we'd like to. Some of the things that we do related to that are paying for respite services so that the caregiver can get a break. Providing information and links to other services and payer sources for those things.
Very good.
Councilwoman Washington?
Chair Weber, when you were talking about the intergenerational isolation, I think it's one of the, I don't know how often Aging Partners partners with, but Tabitha, one of the purposes of that building that we had helped to move forward was so that they could create that multi-generational, and so they've got they have seniors and college students living in the same building.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Years ago, Tabitha had an intergenerational daycare and older adult care service, and it was really cool.
Yeah. So we're making progress on multiple fronts.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Alrighty.
All right, thanks for your time.
We will now have our presentation from Human Resources, followed by Planning and Development Services. We'll welcome Director McIntyre.
I brought Mallory. She's my budget number guru, so when you get to the hard number questions, she'll be joining me. I know who to bring.
Yeah.
So I just want to cover our mission. It hasn't changed. It's inspiring a culture where public servants thrive, and everything we do is in service to this. So when we talk about this budget and the different things that we're asking for that have changed, this is the reason we do it. Our departments stay the same. I don't have any new structure here for you. So this is the same structure from the last budget presentation. We have our 6 divisions, which is Human Resources, Information Services, and Operations. Total rewards, that's all our compensation and benefits and our pension and all of those things. Anything of value we give someone for their service at the city. The employee engagement team, really focused on those relationships with the unions and helping our leaders when they're dealing with the different things and being more proactive about how do we strategize around our talent and deal with things as they come up. Risk management, all of our leave benefits and our insurance and all of those things. Talent acquisition, that's pretty self-explanatory, bringing that new group of talent to us, and then our learning and organizational development. So all of that stays the same. An investment in human resources and in these different teams will help our ability to attract, retain talent, and enhance productivity, foster a positive culture, and ensure our legal compliance obligations in our department are satisfied. So what we're really trying to do is align our budget ask with the human capital strategic goals of the city and the things that we're here to support. Moving on, our funding sources. Human Resources has a number of different funding sources. So I'm going to talk about those briefly because we do have some reliance on general fund. The reliance on general fund is generally for my staff salary, our space, our computers, things like that. But the majority of our expenses are paid through different funding sources. A big one being our rates we charge for our insurance, like our health insurance, which is paid by the city and our employee population, or our cyber, or our general liability. All of those things are paid by the different rates we charge from the other city departments. And in addition to the city department, we get funded through those rates. We also have a contribution from county and the Public Building Commission for our, basically what they cover is that first bucket of our general fund money. They pay a portion of that for our salaries, our general operating expenses, our space, and things like that. County pays 28%, Public Building Commission pays too. So our funding sources are a variety of things. I'm going to move to the next slide. And if you guys have questions as I go, you can pepper those in, or we can wait till the end. I have a question slide at the end too, but whatever, if it pops in your mind and you want to ask it, feel free. I'm not following John's template, sorry. He has a great template. But I want to move to this total expenditure slide because you're going to see, and I have the notes written out on here, a big jump in our expenditures and our budget. And I want to explain this to you because this went up 21% to one of your questions from last time. The reason is we only captured in our prior budget for our health care the employee portion and the employer portion of those rates. We get a revenue source, a significant revenue source of about $7 million from our pharmacy rebates that we get back on our drugs that our employees use when they go to the pharmacy. And what we really wanted to do was show the full cost of our health insurance plan because that was never part of our HR budget before. So our pharmacy rebates were not being included as a revenue source because that's a revenue source. And our full claims exposure was not being included because we were just showing the employee rates. So what we really did this year is true it all up. You see the full expense and the full revenues of our health insurance plan. Okay, so that's why you've got this great big jump in our budget. It's nothing else. We added a few things. There's some cyber insurance and stuff like that, but really the big jump, it was $51 million last year for health, and this year it's going to be 63.5. So there's our jump because it's all related to the health insurance plan and just the things that we weren't showing you transparently before, but it was still part of our program and how we operated. So just talking about our claims exposures, again, health insurance, cyber liability, we had a jump in our liability insurance, property casualty, year over year. Those expenses just go up. So I'll just keep going. All right, so the budget definitely supports a human-focused talent strategies to create, again, we're trying for that irresistible organization. And the first thing we're going to really talk about here is talent acquisition and what we've done. Our hiring, which is what we want. We want candidates to continue to rise in the availability of a talent. So we've really been focusing on enhancing hiring and onboarding and bringing in more candidates for those departments to look at. We've done this through a number of ways, and we continue to expand and strengthen these channels. We've started an internship program. Laura was just here the other day talking to you about that, and we continue to focus on that, and we'll continue to build those future talent or emerging talent pipelines. We've also expanded our community outreach with these dollars, and we want to continue to do that and get more involved in our different community events. Like, yes, we will have the float in the parade tomorrow, but we will also have a recruiting booth there. One of the things we've really done is try to reach passive candidates where they're at instead of where we're at, and that's that outreach, and we're continuing to strengthen that with these dollars. The other thing we've been talking about is really digital-based recruiting tools, and I'm really going to talk about a lot of that on the next page, because we know that our year-over-year recruiting is continuing to expand and grow, and so we need to continue to expand and grow our talent base to make sure that we have the talent we need to fulfill the city's mission to our residents. If we don't have the good talent, we can't deliver on that. So we know that's a very important piece. All right, really talking about this. One of the things that we are going to be using these budget dollars for is developing outreach pipelines. We already have some of those outreach pipelines, but we are setting up a candidate library of people that we come in contact with, if we can get their contact information. And we're going to start a drip campaign to stay connected to them, an electronic drip campaign, which is really just an automated series of touch bases where we can reach out to them, let them know things going on at the city, stuff they would be interested in. If they elect that they're interested in certain types of career opportunities, when those open up, we'll reach out to them so they don't always have to come to us to look. So we're really excited about introducing this drip campaign and the electronic digital space that will enable us to do that, to keep those candidates, we call them warm or interested, which is really what we're doing. So that's a biggie that we're going to be focusing on in the next 2 years. The other piece I want to really talk about is our learning and organizational development. So this team really got going about 2 years ago, and we stood this up to recognize that we really have to focus on preparing the talent we have for those future opportunities and growing them. So we really looked at investing in talent development to create safe, healthy, welcoming workplaces and equipping our people we have, once we invite them in, with the capabilities they need for us to continue to be innovative and resilient as a city and really face those new things that are coming at us so quickly in today's modern kind of world with everything. So a couple of things. You've probably heard about some of this before, but I'm going to walk through them. We're continuing our foundational training. That foundational training, we've launched 17 courses. And it's really to make sure that they have the foundational pieces of good basic skill sets. The next 2 years, the courses we're going to focus on are preventing harassment, again, because we roll that out every 2 years to do good reminders. Cyber awareness, that world's changing really quickly. De-escalation training. We all have to deal with customers that come in, and sometimes when they come to us, they're upset about something. And so how do we de-escalate so we can listen to the customer's concerns, be responsive? So we're focusing on launching that. Workplace ergonomics, keep our workplace healthy, and then some global data privacy training will be, over the next 2 years, some of the pieces we roll out in addition to the 17 modules we've already launched. With our leadership and professional development, I'm going to talk about leaders here. We, 2 years ago, started something called Leads. It's cohorts of emerging leaders, and we get about 20 to 25 in each class. They meet 12 times a year. It's a 4.5-hour monthly course that's designed really to position us to have those people well developed when the leadership opportunities come open. So we have some folks developed and kind of waiting in the wings to step up and promote into those roles. That includes things like mentorship by their supervisors. We send out monthly mentoring guides to help with that leadership development. We have networking sessions with them to get with the cohort to learn other pieces of the city and build their city knowledge. We've delivered 5 out of those 12 classes, so we will continue to deliver those into the future with this next budget cycle. The other thing we've stood up, because that is a pretty small cohort, but it's also a very intense and kind of structured, deep leadership program. But we have a lot of managers and leaders across our organization, so we also stood up Leadership Lens, which is monthly lunch and learns for any leader to attend to help build their leadership capabilities with any course that interests them. They can just register and enroll. So we've started those. And we've started for all employees, because leaders are wonderful and we want to make sure we're bringing those along, but we also have a lot of employees. We want to offer learning for them too. So we've developed and implemented something called Elevate Your Impact. And that's for any employee. Quarterly, they can jump onto those, participate. They're offered virtually because we know not everyone can come to an in-person session. And those are available lunch and learn sessions for all employees at a time where hopefully they can join us. But in the next budget cycle, we're going to introduce something else, something new, and it's called leadership. I know we use these terms. We have a lot of programs called Leadership Under Learning, but it's called Leadership Essentials. So when we promote new folks into their first-time leadership roles, there's a whole lot of things that go along with that. And we really need to launch some learning for that newly promoted group beyond what we have available to help them with a smooth transition, have those skill sets. How do I move from peer to now I have to delegate work and I have to performance manage and do all the things that now come with being a new leader. So that is going to be launching in the next 2 years. We're working on creating the content for that learning opportunity now. All right, moving on. Equitable and inclusive city. We have done a number of things in this space, and we've continued our GARE training to really make sure we have a welcoming environment for folks coming in, and we embrace anyone who wants to join us from our community, from any background at the city. So that cohort is going on, and we will be setting up something for 2027. Again, if it's not exactly GARE, it'll be something similar, but we've done this for 4 seasons now, and with any learning opportunity, sometimes you need to freshen it up. So we're talking about now, how do we maybe freshen that program that we've offered. But we've also introduced something called the Blend, which is for the GARE alumni, because they are very engaged in that learning and the opportunities they get at GARE. So the Blend brings those cohorts back together in a quarterly touch base where we continue to focus on equity and inclusion and belonging and those things with those alumni too, because they want to stay engaged and they've enjoyed how this has expanded their jobs and their lens and their careers they have at the city. Bilingual pay has been implemented, and we will continue to do that. But really going forward, one of the things we are looking at is how do we do a delivery of training to support the city's language access plan, and what's the next pieces of that. So we are supporting that plan and ensuring that we have continue our welcoming community certification. I'm going to talk about our employee engagement team a little bit. You can tell I kind of broke this down into our teams because they all do such different things. But one of the things I want to point out here is just the growth we've had in this space, which really strengthens our ability to proactively work on things. So our consultations from when we launched this team to what we do now, and we consult with all kinds of leaders, employees, departments, heads. That increased 242% over a 2-year period. So we're very proud of that. That means we're proactively talking about those departments' strategic plan, their talent needs, and how do we align the talent of people to what the department needs to achieve their strategic goals. So we're very thrilled that we have gotten integrated and we're able to provide that level of consultation and help with our business partners. And yes, they do things like grievances and investigations and those pieces also. But just those pieces, if we want to look at those quickly, our corrective action stance is really one of how do we do more coaching, because most things can be taken care of with just coaching and helping an employee understand expectations, and then strengthening what we call accountability. You're accountable, and what does accountability look like? How do we build understanding around accountability to improve employees' opportunities to achieve those expectations? Investigations, we've went from 55 to 71, and that again reflects our city's very serious commitment to addressing employee concerns promptly, objectively, and fairly. They have to have a safe space to come to us and raise those up, and I think we're seeing that grow because they know if they bring something to us, we're going to take it serious and we're going to look into it and figure out what's going on here. And a lot of times it's nothing more than misunderstandings or miscommunications, but you got to look into it to find out. So overall, I think our data demonstrates in this area significant expansion in proactive employee relations, working with departments earlier and often to address things that they see coming in their workplaces to support positive cultures and enable us to serve the residents of Lincoln in a good way. All right, we're going to talk about retention of staff. This is one where we're doing a lot of things really well, but there's one opportunity that we've really keyed in on for the next 2 years that we really want to focus on. So overall, we have very strong employee retention, and you can see that across this graph. And once we get someone past their 3 years of tenure, we have them till they retire. So that's really positive. Our turnover overall is 10%, and in most governments it's much higher. So we've got great retention, but we really want to focus on those first 3 years, because we understand that that's where our opportunity is to really get those people to engage with us and select a longer term career. Yes, to stay, to make them, I call it sticky. They all stick after 3 years. So we want to get them to that sticky point. And we're doing a number of things. We've done a number of things, but we have a number of initiatives planned to really focus on this. So we invested in onboarding a couple years ago, stood up an onboarding program. We've also spent a lot of time, we just launched what we call an electronic end-to-end journey to make the employees first, like they used to get 15 PDFs attached to an email. That's not a good experience for anyone. Now their new hire paperwork's electronic. They can complete it on a cell phone. So we've launched all of that. We're looking at refining that further in the next session or next budget to figure out where can we even make this better and more seamless for them. The recruit product we're bringing on is going to help us. They'll be able to sign their letters, their offer letters electronically, and we'll really be able to fully step into that digital world. We're mostly there now, but not quite all the way. So we've also wanted feedback. What are we doing well? What are we not doing well? So there's a new employee 30-day survey after they've been here 30 days because we want to hear from them so they can complete that. We take that feedback and we look at what are we doing and how can we strengthen it? What pieces are still not quite congruent and making the best impression on those candidates that convert over. So the last one you guys are going to see coming to you very soon. We've completely rewritten the talent acquisition and recruiting pieces of the Lincoln Municipal Code. And it takes 75 pages of code and condenses it down to about 30. So it's really modernizing how we do this. But it's going to be a big bunch of code coming before you in the next few weeks. But it's a needed component, right? We want to feel like a modern organization with new employees joining us, and we want to be that, not just feel, but we want to be that. So this helps us along the pathways of getting there. In addition to Oracle Recruit, which I know Laura told you about yesterday. So all of that, I think, will help us in addition to the learning and OD and other pieces we've put in place to continue to strengthen that and hold our talent.
Barb, if I could ask a question at this
Sure.
point, if you're okay with that, Chair.
Yep, Councilman Beckius.
So on the last slide, you said that through some extensive exit interviews that you had identified some areas, and then you had talked directly about how we could look at modernizing some of our intake, modernizing some of our reviews. So are there other aspects that system-wide, in addition to what you mentioned, that the city could do to perhaps positively impact that 1 to 3 year retention rate, in addition to the modernization of some of the intake and so on and so forth?
So we actually have a slide coming up on our
Okay, so I should be patient.
HRIS, and I'm going to talk about some of the initiatives there, Tom.
I'll be patient.
Yes, but if I don't answer everything fully, please, I'll
Okay.
bring it back up. And this one is really dealing with our total reward, so I'm going to talk about it quick. And I know I talk really fast, so if I'm blowing by things, you want me to slow down, just let me know. So total rewards, we've done a lot we always looked at our CIR data when we were looking at positions, but we've really started focusing our total rewards on expanding that out to look at internal equity pieces within the city when we're looking at different classifications, and then also looking at when we're losing talent, it's not because they're going to, I don't know, let's say Rockport, right? That's too far away. We're losing them locally. We're losing them to different local organizations. So we also take a look at that now. Can we use that in contract negotiations? No, but if we see a lot of data, that people are leaving us and going to some other employer, we've been looking at that, trying to pinpoint where are we having turnover and why, because we want to address the retention piece. So we've started looking at that, and sometimes that external market data of more our market, we do use that in addition to our CIR data to help us make the right compensation decisions to stop that turnover from occurring. So we've expanded where we're looking at there in those studies. We've also looked at our health plan cost. As you know, we implemented that pharmacy vendor change to CVS, which helped us increase our pharmacy. So what we're looking for here is how do we continue to offer our very robust, we have a great, robust health insurance plan, and we want to be able to continue to offer those benefits up here. That means we have to look at other ways we can balance out those costs that keep going up, because claims growth on average for a health insurance plan is over 10% a year. We're very excited that we think ours is going to come in at 7.5. So what we're doing is holding it down through the different mechanisms we've deployed, looking at plan design changes or different pharmacy vendors and rebates, trying to get people to try generics before they go to the brands we all see on the TV commercials. So a lot of work has been done there. The other piece of total rewards we focused on is retirement readiness. We know if we can get people to understand the value of the city's retirement options, they will stay with us. We expanded out a campaign to look at our 457 because a number of our contracts have matching contributions where if the employee puts something in, the city puts something in. And we wanted to make sure they were fully taking advantage of those matching contributions and investing for their own financial security towards the future, because their career goes really fast. It doesn't take long, and then all of a sudden we're looking down that pipeline of, oh my gosh, I could retire in a few years, and have I saved for that? We increased our deferred compensation participation by 21% last year with that campaign, and we know there's more we can do there, and we want to continue to strengthen that. We actually, LTU, I'm going to talk about them a little bit. We recognized with our LTU staff that we weren't seeing much engagement. So we talked to Liz. This is where we can partner and said, Director Elliott, would you please let us come to your shops where your transportation folks are, so we bring the show to them. Because if we do that and we educate them on these benefits, we know we'll get better retention. We know the employees will engage, start planning for their retirement, their financial security. And Director Elliott, of course, said, yes, come on over. We'll find 30 minutes and carve out time. If your team will come, we'll find the time. We just did something like that for StarTran, because we know for our wellness initiatives, if we don't take this to where our employees are, we don't always get the best engagement. So we've really tried to evolve this, and we're moving in that direction. Our pension, you guys just got an update on this a couple months ago, so I'm going to go through this pretty quick. It's all information you've seen before, but we do keep an eye on the financial health of the pension. It is a big component of our commitment to public safety to ensure we have a healthy plan that's appropriately funded. We are at 78.9% funded right now, which demonstrates the city's commitment to keeping this plan healthy and keeping it funded. We are projected out how this is going to change over the next few years. So it's 15.4 million in 26-27, but you can see that our actuary does long-term projections that we're moving in the direction of 17.5 for the 29-30 budget. But it is a healthy plan. The other thing we've been doing, and we've talked to you about this before, is we want to bring our rate of return down, which means that that brings our funding rate up, but it also reflects what we see happening in the market. So we want our returns to match our projections. That's key here, is that our actuary and our projections, that we keep those things aligned. All right, this is the HRAS stuff. So hopefully we get to Councilman Beckius' question.
Name's Tom.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm really very much a first name person. So the things we have done to address this and things we're planning to do is last year we automated 1,700 manual entries into Oracle through using process automation and electronic approvals and workflows. So we started, it was our first dipping our toe into this. And we got about 1,700 automated, but we can do better, and we know that. So we have about 2,500, and these are people actions. So we've got people actions and we've got position actions. It's all got to end up in Oracle. But we've got about 2,500 manual actions that we are targeting over the next 2 years to figure out how do we automate this. And AI is great for automating these things because it's just what's the pay increase going to be for a cost of living or a merit increase or things like that. So how do we make this electronic? How do we have these things entered into the system? How do we make our workflows and our approval process go through Oracle so we aren't routing pieces of paper or sending emails to each other? So we have included moving in that direction in the future. And some of those things that we're looking at doing is last year we also, well, let me stay on automation. We're looking at the next piece of this is really trying to centralize it into HR so we can use efficiencies, automation, AI, and the tools that are already in Oracle to help us do the work. And it will include, hopefully, this is our plan. We'll see if we get it all done. Ask me in 2 years, did you get it all done? But we really want to look at position management, job profiles, position profiles, pay increases, performance management. We all get annual performance evaluations. How do we automate those pieces? So those are all on deck. And then we also set something up last year. It's called individual compensation. And what individual compensation does is we have a number of premium pays for all kinds of things at the city. Being a K-9 officer at LPD, you get a premium pay to be a K-9 officer. Those things were contained and kind of backed in tables in Oracle, and we're bringing them forward into a module called individual compensation. So any premium pays an employee is entitled to should be listed in their individual compensation module. It will show them what that pay is on a per paycheck basis. It will also show them the history of their pay on that tab or that screen in Oracle. We took a first swing at this year, and we implemented a very slimmed down version of anything we already had payroll elements for. So this is a HR payroll. We're jointly working on this, and I think Joe's up today. So, but it's really a collaboration between our two teams. And now we're going to take individual compensation 2.0 because all those premium pays that are negotiated in the contracts haven't been put into the individual compensation module yet. And we really want to get there. We think it's really important that people understand. It's almost like a total rewards value statement. They can see the value of all their compensation they get for all the different things that they do. So we really want to get there, and we've identified a bunch of additional compensation to add to it.
So then 3.0, Barb, will you eventually get to a point to show the monetary value of the benefit package as well as the wage package?
Not in individual compensation, but you're right. That's if you look at a total rewards statement that you provide employees, it's got all their comp and all their benefits, and we add it together at the bottom, and we say the value of you coming in every day and doing your work is X.
It's X, yeah.
Yeah, that is
Harder to do.
Harder to do, and to get there, we've got to set up individual compensation. So really, that's our next step, but I fully expect in the coming years you're going to hear us come talking about a total reward statement where we merge all that together. Because we really are a very generous employer, and we want employees to know and be able to see that and see the total value of what they receive. So that's what's coming with our electronic onboarding, employee journeys, recruits coming, but we have a lot of things and it's functionality we pay for. It's already part of Oracle, so we're just setting it up, basically. But that's effort and time and additional dollars whenever you implement a new module in a system. So, all right. Our leave team and our risk team, they do a great job of helping people understand when they're facing uncertainty because either they've had something happen in their lives and now they've got to take FMLA or they need some time off, or, hey, we're having a new member join us, a new child we're welcoming into our home. So we've got some numbers here on those because from where we started to where we've went, we've greatly increased the utilization of these benefits, which we want employees knowing about. And a lot of that has been some training opportunities, lunch and learns, making sure managers understand these benefits, employees understand these benefits. But we went from 141 FMLA utilizations to 366. Which is good. We want employees using these. They protect an employee at a point in their lives where they've got a lot of uncertainty, right? PPO, we went from 24 to 103, so we're really excited about that too. And it really just reflects our efforts to educate employees and supervisors and ensure people understand these benefits and are taking advantage of them at critical life events. The other thing I want to highlight is we are doing a lot to launch some reporting and dashboards and data analytics around these different things and injury claims for, let me go to the next slide. It's really the workers' comp. We really want to start trying to figure out if we can dive deeper into data analytics to really look at the safety components around workers' comp and how do we proactively prevent the injuries from happen that become then part of our work comp profile. And so we really are looking at setting up dashboards. We implemented a vendor called Oracle, and we implemented a program called Origami, where we have greater data and visibility. So really the next phase is looking at that and saying, can we pinpoint trends? When people get hurt? Is it on the weekends? Is it second or third shift? Is it in a certain position or level or place they're working? So really that's our phase 2 here, to start looking at those trends, figuring out how do we bring in the safety component of that, because that also sits in our risk management team as our safety coordinator for the city, and how do we really leverage them to start looking at this and figuring out tailored safety programs where we see these trends happening. So dashboards and all of that are being set up. I'm just gonna, that's the end of my slides, state that I think these initiatives all together really combine to help us focus on employee well-being, workforce resiliency and growth that we need to meet the strategic goals of the city and our residents, and really have the talent to flourish into the future. So any questions I didn't answer? Or things you're more curious about?
Thank you, Director. Any questions from council? Councilman Duden.
Barb, thanks, Chair. Barb, when you were showing the slide about the career fairs, you had Norris High School in there, but no Lincoln High Schools. Are we doing Lincoln High Schools, SCC, TCA, that sort of thing?
We absolutely would. Norris probably reached out to us and said, come talk to a class of graduating seniors about career opportunities. So we do have partnerships and we're trying to strengthen those. One we were building with SCC was specifically around, we have an extreme shortage of CDL drivers, not just us, everyone across the nation. And so we've really worked with Liz and her team to look at, we have to get talent before it merges into the marketplace and they have their first job. So how do we set up internship programs and bring people over? Those CDL programs at SCC, they're in class like from 8 to 3. But Liz at StarTran has a diesel mechanic shop that works second shift. So where can we start figuring out how we plug talent into where we have opportunities where we can have them come work for us, so when they graduate, they're already comfortable here. They're working. They understand the buses that they're working on.
And if you have them as an intern, you get to try them out before you have to buy them.
You also get to do that, yeah. But if they're really great interns and some employer has them interning, they will offer them a job and they will do that before they graduate. That's why we want to make sure we're getting further back in that pipeline, to your point, Tom. But yes, we would definitely go to any high school that would welcome us.
Okay. And then my other question was, you do cross-training with staff as it pertains to onboarding? Because there just seems to be some confusion there on what needs to be done when a new hire comes on board.
I don't know that we have cross-training, but we have basically, up until it's department specific, like each department has their own onboarding because they all are very unique. And so we handle all the general pieces that apply to everyone who starts working for the city
Right.
in our day one orientation and now our electronic onboarding. But then when they hand off to the departments, we do rely on those departments to do their department specific pieces. I don't know if that helps or not, but
Yeah, I think what I've heard and seen is that some people just aren't aware of all the steps, all the general things that need to happen and take place. And I would think that anybody that works in HR should have some familiarity with those steps.
our talent acquisition team and then our operations team, Cody's team, they are very familiar with all the steps. But if you were speaking with like our risk management team, they probably could tell you all about leave, but maybe not about those pieces because we really do have such specialized work in HR that just saying everybody has to know everything just wouldn't work. Because FMLA looks very different than onboarding or things like that. So, but we do have specialized teams in HR that handle those things. But there is cross training because everything we do at some point does usually cross over with another team. So,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Other questions? Councilwoman Washington?
Director McIntyre, at the front of your
Pardon me.
Director McIntyre, at the front of your presentation, you explained how you're truing up on the accounting shows a large increase from our current fiscal year to the next. And I am curious in looking at 26, 27, and 28, I see that there's pretty good increases in each of those years. And I am curious, besides the true up, what other factors are leading to a large increase?
If you take the health insurance increase out,
Yeah.
it's a 6% increase from 25 to 26 to 26 to 27. So that would be the increase.
Okay.
Throwing health to the side.
Understood.
Take it out.
Health insurance
It's
will
a
get you.
6%, and really the rest of that is attributed to mostly our insurance for all things but health insurance. So it's really attributed to our general liability, our fleet insurance,
Yep.
our is Mary Ann here? Mary Ann, do you want to come up and talk about what insurance pieces I am forgetting? I don't know if you guys have met Mary Ann. She is
Marianne?
our guru on this, and I'm trying to think what other besides cyber that went up.
Yes. So in the past, I don't know that they've done a good job of using our actuary figures for what we should set our rates at. They were also just undervalued overall. And so took those to what the actuaries were recommending was the biggest thing. We've had a huge influx in general liability claims, a lot of discrimination and retaliation claims that are still on the books. And even if we are defending them, which we are in some cases, they still cost a lot to defend because a good portion of those are in lawsuits. We also have a couple relatively new claims that have come in, and most of those are falling into the general liability, and a couple of them are in law enforcement liability. But all of those claims have gone up, and we're just trying to catch up. I think we should have probably done this a little while ago, but catching up with where we should be at, and that's the increase for that.
Thank you.
Does that answer?
Yes.
It does.
So, I'm sorry, are you saying that we were
Councilwoman.
underinsured then?
I'm saying we were underfunded.
Funded, okay,
We were not underinsured.
okay.
Thank you, Mary Ann. I know I can't always answer all the questions, but I know who can. Any other questions?
Alrighty.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
your
Director.
time.
Next up would be Planning and Development Services.
New assistant assistant carrying the ball today. Okay.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. Steve Dush, Planning and Development Services, 555 South 10th Street. All right, so it's my pleasure to present to you the very first Planning and Development Services budget.
Wow.
And
That's
so
right.
we'll not waste any time. We're just going to get on into it. And feel free, if you have any questions, to just interrupt me, and that way we can keep the flow going with the momentum of the conversation at hand. So we'll start off with some of our guiding principles. What we do is we help facilitate investment in economic development, and increase customer service is one of our fundamental tenets that we're striving for. One of the other guiding principles is protecting the health and safety of our families and communities through solid land use planning, and then, of course, the issuance of building permits, making sure that they're reviewed properly, and then inspecting them. We help plan infrastructure that supports a strong and resilient Lincoln through capital improvements planning. And then, again, growing our community so that all members enjoy a high quality of life. So those would be some of our fundamental tenets, and we'll try to dive in. And if we were to kind of put that in a phrase, it could probably read something like this. That Planning and Development Services, PDS, works with residents and businesses to create a safe, livable, and economically strong Lincoln. Through building compliance, planning, and housing and community development, PDS delivers responsive, accessible services that help move projects forward. So how do we do that? So some of our values that complement the guiding principles is, striving to create a thriving and growing community. We maintain the comprehensive plan. Many of you served on the Planning Commission, and that process is going through another update as we speak. And that provides our sort of long-term vision for the community. We approve residential and commercial construction plans to ensure the safety of buildings in the community. We issue building permits to help grow investments. We'll get into some of those numbers here a little bit later. It's really interesting. I think that you heard a snippet of that yesterday when the mayor spoke in terms of what some of our residential units look like over the past 5 years. We develop a 6-year CIP. We administer and maintain the zoning ordinance. You've seen a number of text amendments, and more to come on those. We respond to building issues to help the community remain safe and secure. We do subdivision and platting. And then we serve as staff support for over 20 different boards and commissions. And then we also lead the community's transportation planning efforts. Again, that's part and parcel of what we do and through our engagement with the MPO and then the update of the comp plan. And then we are looking at continuing to level up our customer service. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And I think that's one of the fundamental tenets of the merger that had happened between what we would call the Legacy Planning Department and the Legacy Building and Safety Departments, which is now PDS. So operationally, how does this look? So it, of course, starts with the elected officials, all y'all, the mayor and the county board. We are a joint city county planning department, and we receive your policy direction and implement that. And so we do that through some core sort of buckets, if you will. Following along on this sort of structure chart, you see the advanced planning services. So that would be the long-range planning, for lack of a better term, comp planning, MPO. And then the development services department is really where a lot of the merge between building and planning had happened because of the interface between actually constructing something and doing the sort of land development components, whether that's through current planning, through the changes in zone, planned unit development, special permits and whatnot, and making sure that those things that are put down on paper and engineered can actually get constructed the way that they do. So a little planning on the front end helps that sort of back end. So when things are built, or excuse me, when things are planned, the site planning is done, the engineering is done, the plans that are submitted are reviewed. Then we get into the inspections and the enforcement. So that's just, so we're into like the third phase. So we have a number of inspectors through various disciplines, and we'll get into some of the actual numbers about what we what we do in terms of services for those inspections a little bit later. But then after that, there's also the sort of maintenance of that. So we have our housing sort of division that makes sure that if there are complaints or issues, that they're responsive to those as well. Then, of course, the administration, and one of the more prominent tools that we use is our IT and our GIS. That helps us sort of spatially plan and do hopefully a good job of communicating through maps and numbers, kind of what these things look like from a policy written word. So supporting a growing city. Here's some really interesting statistics, I think, again, as a sort of a planning wonk. We have grown steadily, 1.03% over the past 15 years. The city's population, we are over 300,000. This number's a little bit old. We're probably, if I were to guess, probably over under 305 is what I would say, 305, 306, something like that. While the rate of population has declined slightly over the years, mainly due to sort of decreased migration. Again, when doing population projections, you look at in-migration, out-migration, death, births, and all those elements. But we continue to grow at a steady rate. Annexations are continuing to grow over the past 15 years, almost a square mile a year, which translates into about 640 acres every year of new land that's being annexed into the city. But one of the more sort of telling sort of statistics about a sort of maturation of a city is that our infill development is almost 30%. So these past few years. And that's really important to recognize through sound planning, because that's actually a response or actually an outcome of a lot of the policy directions that is set here in this room, because it's fiduciary responsible as well, because we're taking advantage of existing infrastructure and existing services within that area. And we continue to see more of that. And then you see the breakdown of the different types of residential development. Single family, attached, and then multifamily. And those numbers there are sort of translated into the next slide here that shows, again, and this is what the mayor spoke about yesterday, over the past 5 years, we have experienced some of the highest residential growth, well, actually the highest residential growth since we've been tracking this. And so that translates into approximately, before I get into those numbers though, just to point out the obvious here, this multifamily bump here. I mean, that is if we go back to that previous slide, you'll see what that number is. And again, that's a national trend. We're seeing that all across the country. So I kind of already talked about this slide, so we'll move on. But again, I think it's worth amplifying. 2,300 new units a year over the past 5 years. And our permits, so this sort of reflects some of those numbers. We see a bump, and then we see sort of a decline, and then we're kind of back to stasis to where we were, pre-COVID, if you will. And so here I think we'll just spend a brief moment of time, just a culture of continuous improvement. I mean, when we take a look, we certainly don't want to rest on our laurels about some of the accomplishments that we've done. We're always looking at ways that we can get better. And better comes in a variety of different ways, and that's getting feedback from folks, engaging with our development partners in the community. And so what does that look like? So good customer service. We want, when you come to PDS, to have, we'll call it fun. Hey, come to the counter and let's see what you can do with your piece of property, or at least get you what it is that you want, and get that quicker, and not just quicker is not always better. Sometimes it's a more thoughtful review and analysis is good as well. And so that's where some of the changes from just an operation standpoint are reflective in the sort of pre-app service, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. So then again, at the direction of the mayor, she had implemented and charged us with some significant changes of merging planning and building and safety into the PDS department. Focuses on customer service. And again, because everyone we react with, I mean, we have the regulars that come in, our standard developers, but for the single user that comes in one time, we want that to be a good experience. Somebody doing a deck or a garage addition, we want to be able to help them. And sometimes as we you know, they come in at the counter, we try to ask questions to find out what it is that they want, because maybe they want something a little bit different, or realize that they could have done something a little bit different too. So we really want to engage with them to help them understand that improving their property is a good thing, and we want to help facilitate that. We've also done some operational changes, like I talked about in the implementation of our new pre-app service. It's a no-cost service. We offer it every 2 weeks. We had one today. We have one in 2 weeks, and we get approximately, I would say, about 6 to 8 of these, probably about 8 a month. And so, I mean, we get, sometimes we see these a couple of different times, but effectively what it is a new application comes in, and it could be a single site, or it could be a large development takedown, like the Red Tail one, the 160-acre ones that y'all just saw not too long ago. So that's kind of the varying extremes, but we get a site plan in, we route it around to all of our development team in the city. They take a look at it. We huddle up internally to reconcile comments, to make sure that, hey, you know, LTU and planning, we're all on the same page, or hey, there's a conflict here. Let's work it out and come up with kind of what's the city's position. Because then when we meet with the applicant a few days later, we then have a sort of understood, hey, this is the direction that we're going. And so that helps alleviate a lot of the back and forth, and we have received a lot of good feedback on that process, and hopefully you have as well. And then we've also expanded our ability to conduct third-party commercial plan reviews. We have expanded our services to do some outsourcing, and we're working on continuing to get our numbers down relative to review times. You'll see that manifest in a key performance indicator here later on, how we've modified that a little bit in terms of our first submittal reviews and what that looks like. So here are some of our KPIs, our key performance measures. Again, when you take a look at this measure, maintaining same-day inspections for service requests, look at the volume. I mean, over 77,000 requests, and we get those done 99% of the time the day that they're requested. That actually is a really good service to provide to our development partners. When we take a look at, you know, maintaining a strong, clean, and attractive neighborhoods, housing complaints, we will respond back within 2 working days. And again, when we receive a complaint, the individual that's lodging that complaint has probably put up with that for a little bit, right? So it's not like something, oh, I just happened and I'm gonna call right away. We recognize that, which is why we really strive to do that. And again, 98% of the time, we're hitting that 2-day metric. And then written responses following a housing inspection. Within 24 hours, we're hitting that as well. And again, 99% of the time. So I mentioned this before as it relates to getting additional bandwidth for commercial plan reviews. So the metric that we had in the past was an average sort of metric of doing commercial plan reviews, first round submittal within an average of 20 days. But that didn't necessarily tell the best story, so we revamped that. For instance, we could have had a bunch of applications that took 50 days, and we had a couple that were done in a couple, and now we average 20. Well, that's not the best metric. So what we've decided on, and again, this is best practice. I'm not saying that we're going to hit this right away. We're certainly striving for this. This is actually best practice across the country, is to arrive at 90% of the time doing a first round review within 15 working days. So that's 3 weeks. We're tracking these. We actually had to create some new tools in some of our software, so we're able to track this a little bit better. And we're getting close on some of these. And so again, forward progress. Happy to report that. Then of course there's the travel time to work, and then healthy lot supply. And again, this kind of leads into the development, the annexation, and we have a very robust supply of lots here.
Can you,
Councilwoman
could you
Washington?
just back up one? Let me see
Yes.
that slide. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I was trying to look at 60% travel time at less than 20 minutes. And it was like 60% of the time, 60% of our residents, 60% of less than 20 minutes to get to work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now that's in a car. Those of us that walk or ride our bike, sometimes maybe that varies. Although sometimes I can get to my when I ride my bike here, I can get here quicker than when I drive. But that's when Normal was under construction, but that's okay. So, housing prices. You know what? The only thing people hate worse than bad roads is when you're fixing them. So when we are looking at what our housing costs are, here we look at the ratio, and we dial this down to the Midwest region, and so we are actually below that threshold right now. So we're maintaining, at least within our region, housing affordability, at a level that is below the standard in terms of our region. Another way to measure sort of our our effectiveness, if you will, in the development community, subdivision plats. Final plats come in, for single lots, multi-family lots, and we've did 102 of those last year. 100% of the time, we hit the metric. Now, in 2 years, if we're before you, I suspect that 102 number is going to decline. And the reason why is because related to our sort of continuous improvement, we are using a process called a TORA, which is a transfer of restriction agreement, which is effectively a deed restriction to where if you own multiple lots, and you see this a lot in like the Old Town area where you get some lots that are 10, 20, 30 feet wide, and they just kind of built those off of there, and a structure may be on top of those or too close to one. Well, if you go through this TORA process, it's effectively a deed restriction, for lack of a better term, where what it does is it says you can't convey this property until you go and you plat it together. It saves time and it saves money for the applicant. So that's another good service that we're doing, and they're quicker than a final plat. So, and then as a way to, again, feedback is a gift, and so we instituted a survey. And we're getting these in, and we want to maintain a score based upon what our service level looks like of at least 4 out of 5. And we've gotten about 22 or 23 of these in so far, and I think we're at an average of 4.2 across the board. So, overview of changes. So y'all are probably quite familiar with what had happened, the merger, but I'll just kind of hit those really quick and make sure I'm respectful of your time here. Merging building and safety and planning, 74 full-time positions is what the department looks like now. The Bureau of Fire Prevention is transitioning under the authority to LFR. They're still in our shop. We continue to work with them, so that's a seamless transition. It just is in terms of the reporting of different officers to different teams. The Housing Preservation Division is now identified along with the Legacy Planning Department as general fund. So everything else is under the full true enterprise fund. So building and safety, those services outside of housing and planning, they are paid for through the fees that we collect for the services that we provide. And so what does that look like? Legacy Planning Department. Here are the numbers and our expenses. It's also important to recognize that the reimbursement to the general fund that comes through grants that we receive for certain positions and fees is offset by 42%. That number actually increases with our Housing Preservation Division, where 69 and 65% in years 1 and 2 respectively, those are the offsets to what their overall costs are. And then the PDS Enterprise Fund, this is the bulk of our fund, right? This does the administration, our plan review, our inspections, building, plumbing, electrical, mechanical, all of those. These are what we're anticipating our fund expenses to be, and these are our revenues. You can see there is a delta there. We typically come in under fund expenses because of various reasons, and we're very conservative with our fee revenue. I can tell you that as of now, right now, we're tracking from our last year budget with what our expenses are. And so we monitor this all the time, and what's another reason why we have a fund to ensure that if there is a lag, because building cycles, they dip and they go up. And we need to make sure that we have not only money for what's called a works in progress liability, where people come in, they pay for their plans and their inspections, Well, those are paid, and then we still need to use those dollars. So there's that, and then also, for lack of a better term, sort of a rainy day fund to address those cycles. So we're not concerned about that delta right now, and we'll continue to monitor that as we do weekly, monthly, quarterly. So really quick, expenditures by fund. You can see here in this simple little pie chart, the orange area is our larger fund that we get from the fees, and then the general fund is approximately 30%. But also really important to note, if you do some quick math, effectively, because of the reimbursements that we get for that 30%, 85% of all of the PDS budget is funded through fees or other revenues. So that's, if there's one thing to take away, well, there's many things, but here's a good one. Successes in the past year. Briefly, the implementation of the merger into the PDS department, the initiation of the pre-app service, administered the CIP, a variety of text amendments, ADUs, the child care, lift station policy, just to name a few. The development of the long-range transportation plan and the comp plan updates. Again, addressing the commercial plan reviews by getting different third-party reviewers and completing the university neighborhood plan. Looking forward, we're continuing to implement this one-team mindset and leveling up continuous improvement. Looking at implementing new engagement methods for focused neighborhood planning. Continuing how to look and better implement our zoning code. Updating the comp plan and the LRTP. Exploring all avenues to increase commercial plan reviews, and also capacity within. And our HR director talked about that a little bit before. We're looking at doing that as well in terms of cultivating the talent that we have and providing opportunities to grow people, to not only just retain them, but to provide better services and advance them in their career. So that's sort of a triple win. And then again, customer service. It all relates to that. We want people to come to PDS and be happy with the service that they're getting. And open to any questions you might have.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council? Councilman Beckius.
Thank you, Chair. Steve, not a question, but I do want to thank the department, you, David, as Mayor Gaylor Baird has wanted to move through continuous process in this, especially where it comes to commercial plan review, what have you. I just want to thank you for your flexibility through that process, through the process of integration of the two departments. And I think it's also really worth noting specifically the implementation of new metrics by which we will measure our outcomes and successes as well. I know that that's really important to the mayor to make sure that we are implementing performance metrics, key performance indicators that are important, and that we are holding ourselves accountable as a city to make sure we're hitting those metrics. And that wasn't specifically delineated in your presentation, but I wanted people to know that these performance metrics are, some of them are newer, some very key ones are newer, and I wanted people to know that we are holding ourselves accountable to those metrics. So thank you very much for your flexibility, and thank you for presenting the first DPS, what are,
PDS.
PDS.
Planning and
budget.
Development Services, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Chair.
Councilman Duden.
Just a question about staffing. Do we have enough plan reviewers?
So we are actively engaged in a commercial plan review to focus primarily on fire plan review. Our residential plan reviews are top notch. We receive comments about how well we get through those processes, and the home builders have lauded us in terms of what that turnaround time is. That's why our focus lately has been on the commercial plan review, which is why we've gotten those third party reviewers. And that's always sort of a catch-22, because especially with staffing, because we're an enterprise fund, we have to run more business-like, right? And so we want to make sure that we don't bring full-time staff on too early and then have a lull. So we're getting data, we're looking at this, and so we're actively pursuing as to whether we need to. Absolutely, and so that's part of the management of that. So, and we're actively engaged in that on a daily basis.
The other comment that I had, and I get this from constituents, especially some that, well, one in particular said that he's built over 2,000 townhouses in Lincoln, and it still takes quite a bit of time for a plan to go through when it's the same plan that he's used on townhouse after townhouse, and maybe the only thing that's changed is the grade, that sort of thing. Is there any way we can reward developers that do good projects so that we can expedite their projects even faster?
So every application that we get in, we do have, even if it's one that's a plan that we've seen before.
Sure.
Like you had indicated, there
Right.
could be grading differences, there could be setback differences, there could
Right.
be easement differences. But I can tell you that we are, based upon feedback that we've gotten from individuals, we are taking a look at how we can take a sort of fresh approach to, let's say, a multifamily development or a very large single family development where we have almost, well, for lack of a better term, I'll call it a stock plan.
Right.
And so we are looking at ways on how we can do that to expedite some of those things. And we're also, and I mentioned this maybe very briefly, we, as you know, we facilitate development, and we look at this as a partnership with the development community.
Sure.
Because we don't build, we're not out there, swinging the hammer or raising the trusses, but we help facilitate that. And so
They have the risk. Yeah.
So what we need to do is help our partners in development about how we can help them better by helping us. So we've talked about how we can do different outreach. There are some educational elements that are going to be coming out in terms of some of the fire, or excuse me, some of these fire dampeners, just to get very granular here. And we're working with the development community to have an outreach on that. We continue to look at how we can provide better information through FAQs that we put on the website, so we get plans that are coming in that are of a nature to where we're not having to try to, some detail things about different pages aren't lining up or a detail isn't there, because we can't perform a review if we don't have all the information. So how do we help each other out? And so I think that having conversations, and Councilmember Beckius has been a part of the Chamber's efforts on how we can look at some of these things, and so we're actively engaged in that because it's a partnership.
Absolutely.
Councilwoman Washington.
Related to some of what's been said, I really appreciate your moving toward commercial and shortening the time on commercial reviews. You mentioned moving a lot of the fire inspectors over to fire and safety, or over to LFR. And then you mentioned hiring another fire inspector. I'm so sorry if I...
No.
Okay,
No.
so could you tell me how many fire inspectors you're going to hold on to, and you're going to add one to that in this next biennium?
Actually, so no, thank you for the question. So, and I apologize if I was confusing those matters. So our fire inspectors, they're still going to be where they are at physically in effectively our shop, right? Those aren't being lost. The only thing that's changing is the reporting structure. So those individuals, because those are sworn positions, right? Those are going to go under the reporting structure of the fire department. But the day-to-day operations and their interaction with our staff, especially the commercial fire plans reviewer, that's the position that we have more. That's going to be under planning and development services. And so this was worked out with David and Chief Engler in terms of what's best under the PDS umbrella and what's best under the LFR umbrella. And so the reporting structure is really effectively the only change for the Bureau, the fire inspectors, but the commercial plan reviewers and the fire commercial plan review, because there's so much interlap between the commercial building plan reviewers and the fire reviewers, that having them under that umbrella in our shop makes much more sense and provides better service.
Thank you very much. And then...
Clearly those are two different jobs.
Yes.
Inspector and fire reviewer.
Yeah, two different jobs. And then in the next couple of weeks, would you send me more information on the housing ratio? And I know you gave us the Midwest
Oh, yes.
and Lincoln's, but could you also, if you've got it, what Nebraska is? and how we rate with other cities in Nebraska.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Otherwise, we'll have finance come up and present. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Good afternoon, Chair Weber and members of the Lincoln City Council, and thank you for the opportunity to present the finance budget today. I'm Joe Donlier, 555 South 10th Street, your current finance director. Okay, so starting off with our mission statement, and I promise I won't read every slide, but I'm going to read this one. The Finance Department works in partnership with elected officials, all city departments, other governmental agencies, and businesses and individuals in our community to provide financial oversight, information, and services to carefully manage public resources and make informed decisions to support city operations. In short, we really see ourselves as a customer service-oriented organization. So this slide shows us the organization chart for the Finance Department. We have 8 divisions. You'll see we have city facilities coordination on here now. That's currently a division of 1, but we intend to build that up in the future. The other 7 divisions were previously on here, and we removed one. IS division would have been on here last time around.
Right.
So this slide goes over the Finance Department's various funding sources. First thing I wanted to touch on here was the Keno Revenue Fund. I know in previous budgets we had talked about seeing some decline in the Keno Revenue Fund. We haven't seen that just yet, but we'll continue to monitor that. The Casino Gambling Fund, as the mayor pointed out in her presentation yesterday, $710,000 of that Casino Revenue Fund will be invested in affordable housing, and then 1.4 million of that will be for debt service for the new library, with the balance of that being reserved for any of those shortfalls that we might see in that Keno fund. One notable difference I'll call out here is you'll see that Fleet Management Fund has $17.4 million in it. That is new, and that reflects the cost of the Fleet Services Division. It's not new expenditures, it's just the cost of running that fleet service out of the Finance Department, where in previous budgets, those funds were in LPD and LTU. So here's another look at that, total expenditures. This shows it by type, so all funds, but it shows it by type. You'll see in here we've got, again, some substantial capital outlay and materials and supplies expenditures that would not have been in the last budget. And again, that's related to those fleet services cost, replacing vehicles, significant capital expenditures there, and then running 2 garages. You'll see quite a bit of supplies and materials that would not have been in the Finance Department's budget last time around. So this slide, this shows some of the changes and the investments in our current budget. As I mentioned earlier, we've established this Fleet Services Fund. Also, and removed the information services staffing from the budget. Another change we've made in this budget, we've reclassified our grant administrator position into an accountant 2. The working title for that is grant and P-card accountant. And really we did that to realign our process for managing our purchasing cards. Previously it had been done in the purchasing division, and we've realigned that to be the responsibility of our accounts payable team. That is a structure that's more consistent with that type of administration. P-card administration is really oversight of a payment type, like a check or a electronic funds transfer, and it just fits better on that payables team. So this slide shows the finance department's staff by funding source and division. Again, I feel like I'm repeating myself a little bit, but you'll see information services isn't in here anymore. And now that we've moved fleet services into finance, we've also established a new internal service fund for that. That's Fund 661, and you'll see 30 FTEs that are budgeted there now. 29 were moved from LPD and LTU, and then our fleet facilities coordination position was moved from the general fund.
The extra one.
That's
Okay.
the extra one,
Okay.
yep, into the city fleet coordination fund. You'll see one other difference there on our purchasing division. We have included in our budget an assistant purchasing agent that is focused on purchases for information services and technology-related purchases, and that's to make sure that we're getting the best value for those purchases. They're a significant expenditure for the city, and then that position also really closely coordinates with IS to make sure cybersecurity considerations are thought of. So moving on into our performance measurements for the finance department. So our first three here are holdovers from our last budget. We feel they're good performance measurements to keep. The first of which is maintaining our AAA general obligation bond rating. That is the highest bond rating from Standards & Poor's, and maintaining that ensures we get the best financing terms for any debt issuances that we do as a city. The second is for our annual comprehensive financial report, and that is an annual reward issued by, well, a biannual reward. No, that one's annual, I'm sorry. The budget one is biannual. That is an annual reward issued by the Government Finance Officers Association, and they have peer panels of municipal governments that review these ACFRs and make sure that they meet requirements and that they're of the highest quality. Performance measurement 3 related to the ACFR, but that's for our popular annual financial report, and that's our 5 to 10 page kind of high level summary report that we publish along with the ACFR. 4 is the last of the GFOA budget awards, or the GFOA awards, and this is for the budget award for excellence in our biennial budget. And if you get all 3, interestingly, that is called the Triple Crown. So our goal is to win the Triple Crown again this year from the GFOA. Performance measurement 5, this is the last holdover, and that gets around the accuracy of our forecasting of general fund revenues. Our goal is to be, I believe, 96.5% accurate, and we've exceeded that in the last few years. Our new performance measurement this year, we're going to build out some of our other ones around fleet and facilities as we go forward. We have one for fleet in here this year, and this also matches the Mayor's Climate Action Plan, but we have a performance goal to continue to increase our share of alternatively fueled vehicles in our light fleet, and then get that to the 50% mark and maintain or exceed that going forward. So the next 2 slides cover our miscellaneous budgets. The miscellaneous budgets, so they don't support any specific program or department, but they support many programs across the city. Their major uses include all of our debt service payments are going to be reflected here in our miscellaneous budgets, our general fund fringe benefits, and then general fund subsidies and transfers to our special revenue funds. You'll also see a couple budgets down there for the Pinnacle Bank Arena and the Community Health Endowment. They're also reflected here in our miscellaneous budgets. Same theme here, miscellaneous budgets, but this will show you by expenditure type. So you'll see the personal services line. That's where our fringe benefits are going to be reflected. So our FICA cost, our healthcare costs for employees, pension, deferred comp, and other benefits. And then our transfer out line reflects our general fund subsidies to the special revenue funds. So general fund subsidies to aging, health, animal control, StarTran, and 911 communications will be reflected there. Some of the changes I'd just like to note on this slide that are different from the last time around. In the past, the problem resolution team was reflected in this miscellaneous budget. That's now in the planning and developmental services budget. Neglected buildings, that was in this budget before, it is now in PDS as well. Downtown Lincoln Association funding has been moved to urban development. And then we have some direct allocation of software and PC replacements. They're now directly allocated to the department, so they'll be reflected in their budget rather than this miscellaneous budget. All right, just a couple cost trends and some planned debt issuance that's decided for the next, or planned for the next year. So we have continued to see some price increases in goods and services where diesel fuel is a component of it. Certain suppliers have asked us for concessions for contracts and things like that, and we've taken those into consideration. And usually our hands are tied and they can give notice and then we can renegotiate. But we have seen some cost pressures in our vendors and had those communicated to us. And then as far as debt issuances go, we do anticipate issuing municipal improvement bonds for streetlights in the fall, and that's a financing we do every 2 to 3 years. So this is my last slide here. So I'd like to just give a quick summary of all the ways that our department supports the city. A lot of work we do is behind the scenes, but it is essential to keep the city operating well, whether that's maintaining credit, processing payroll, or safeguarding the resources for the city, or many other critical functions. It's a top priority, and we hold ourselves to highest standards for it. And with that, I will take any questions you may have for me.
Alrighty, thank you. Are there any questions from council? Alrighty, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next up would be information security, and then we'll take a brief break.
How about a longer break?
I think it depends on how you define 15 minutes, I guess.
Hello, Carl.
Good
afternoon,
Welcome.
everybody.
Oh, yesterday and today.
Excited to be up here. Thanks for having me. We will go through the budget presentation, and I don't know that I'll have a lot of comparisons to previous years because
You're new.
I'm here for that.
Yeah.
All right. I'll use this mouse, it works better. I'll start off with our mission, vision, and value statement. This is something that our team has been collaborating on, trying to build and craft over the past few months, to kind of be a rallying cry behind how we serve our community. I don't know that you care to have me read it to you directly, but our mission is to provide secure and resilient technology that supports public service while ensuring responsible use of taxpayer resources. Those resources are most generally dollars, but there are many ways in which you can steward resources from the taxpayers. So I won't bore you with the rest of it, but I wanted to let you know, like, this is the unveiling. I've never shown this publicly to anybody, so you get to see it first. I don't even know that the mayor's seen it. I know John has gotten to see it as preparing this. But, so yeah, this is something new that we just shared actually with my team last week as far as the culmination of this. So
It's good.
our organizational chart is, I would say it's similar to last year, but clearly it's not because we're not part of finance. We've renamed a couple groups, specifically technical operations. That used to be called just customer service, and then that kind of merged with infrastructure, and it kind of got messy from that perspective because there's so many roles that overlap. Organizationally speaking, customer service is within technical operations, but from there all the way up to management of infrastructure and all the security things that go along with the infrastructure there. And then software operations is the other rebranding that we did. It used to be called the applications team. That can get a little bit confusing for some, but it's software operations, custom built or otherwise. It's a team that makes the nuts and bolts of all of that stuff work. And then the one group that we've added in the past year is project management, or the Project Management Organization, PMO. You'll see it abbreviated quite frequently, which is consistent with what you see out in industry. So that is that. We'll go into funding sources. You can see this is exciting. There are two funding sources: broadband fund and information services fund. So broadband, as you may be aware, we have the broadband conduit system under the city all over the place, and we lease those out to carriers and other municipal services. So there's revenue there. One that's not on here that I feel like maybe we missed, specifically on 26-27, is we did apply for that grant from the state to help pay for things. There's actually an $800,000 chunk in that we anticipate getting at least part of that from a grant, and if we don't get the whole thing, we'll reevaluate at that point. But we're fingers are crossed. They said by the end of the month we'll know. Total expenditures. So as you look at this, if you go look at the numbers from last year, if you go to compare them, these look considerably larger, on the magnitude of 25%. And the reason for that, the real number is around 4% year over year. The reason for that shift is, as Joe had mentioned earlier, the shift of PC replacements and all of those. We are shifting to more of a PCs as a service strategy, where departments are going to pay for a quarter of their computers to be replaced every year. Just a flat rate so that budgets can remain stable year over year. And as they grow staff and add machines, it might inch up a little bit, but it should be stable year over year. We're in a roundabout way financing the computers this way. So from our perspective, we're going to manage it. Every computer that's older than 5 years old, we're going to target for replacement every year. So if it's older than 5 years, we're going to go out, try and seek it out, do what it takes to replace it with a machine that accomplishes the mission that machine has to do. This is for cybersecurity purposes and just general hygiene of the environment, right? So machines sometimes get forgotten in closets, and all of a sudden they're 15 years old, and that is the front door for the threat actor that's out there. So we have to stay on top of those things.
Take 2 years to update them.
Yeah, exactly. This Windows 11 fiasco that we went through the past couple of years, I don't know how many of you are privy to that, but basically there was 30% of our computers could not run Windows 11, and we had to go through and replace them all, which was pretty painful. Not just financially, but like actually pulling it off was very challenging. So those are a couple big things. And then one other big change this year in the budget that I didn't feel was well represented in previous budgets. It was a change that I would made, is we created what's called a pass-through budget. There are almost $2 million worth of things that we as a department buy for other departments that they put into their budget, hopefully, to buy. And we take care of the contracting side of it, make sure everything is procured and appropriate and all from that perspective. And then we turn around and we just do an interdepartmental billing back to the department for their budget. Well, there were a handful of larger items that the department thought we budgeted for and were included in rates, and we thought they budgeted for, and then all of a sudden there's a $500,000 bill due and nobody had it budgeted. And that's a bad way to be. So for the sake of transparency and making sure departments know exactly what we are including in rates and what we are explicitly not including in rates, those numbers are now reflected in this $22 million as well.
That's good. I didn't want you to be dipping into your own pocket there.
Occasionally we do, and that's the game we play, though. So we have to keep things running. So that's why you see roughly $3-ish million more than you might have expected to see here. Some key things that we've done over the past year: cost saving measures. We've talked about it multiple times in the past. Consolidation of technologies. We find that there might be 3 things that we're paying for that can accomplish the same task. Let's shut a couple of them down and invest some time and resources into figuring out the other one that maybe we weren't using for it. So there's been a lot of that, and I would say there's well into the 7 figures that we've actually cut in expenses as a result of that. You're aware of a lot of the reinvestment that I've made on that front as well, using those funds elsewhere. Establishment of a formal cybersecurity program. While we had an information security officer, there wasn't a formalized program driving it and helping establish the priorities that we needed to go through. This is experience I brought with me from the banking environment that I worked in before, of how to basically structure that as a program and then build a team around it and then turn it into a real life breathing plan of action. We now have a team officially of 4 on that group. And then something that is new, in the past we've used MSISAC and CISA for 24/7 monitoring and services. You're probably aware of that. We technically still have some of their free services, but it was not what we would say adequate for an enterprise of our size. So with some of those savings we talked about, one of the big things that we spent money on is a 24/7 by 365 monitoring service with active threat hunting. So we have a third-party vendor that is people working 24/7, and they're actually picking through our logs and looking for indications of compromise or attempts at compromise. And then it's weekly that we get notification from them saying, we saw something go bump in the night, here's what it is, here's why we don't think it's a thing, but here's where we need you to go look deeper. So that's been a great partnership, and they've helped mitigate a few things that were actual real threats before they turned into something of trouble. So it's been a great partnership. We talked about the establishment of the project management organization. We now have a team of 4 there. Formal planning for all technology projects, specifically where departments remember to bring us in. It's a kind of a new thing, so some departments go off and start technology projects without us, and eventually it comes back around to us and it's like, oh yeah, we have to allocate resources. You know, we can't deliver what you need us to deliver because we didn't have you in the pipeline. So that's a bit of a transition. Most departments have been very accepting of this and very supportive of it, and we continue to push forward on that. Talked a little bit about customer service and infrastructure teams being merged. That's formally becoming a 3-tier support system. So when you call in, generally you get tier 1 support. It's kind of a standard structure you see out there. I want to say that we're probably going to do it better than others that you see out there. I'd like to think so, at least. But something that I noticed in the past is there wasn't clear escalation. So if somebody took a ticket, took a call, and they weren't quite sure what to do with it, sometimes it would fall through the cracks, and it wasn't properly escalated and handled and come back in as timely as I would think I would want it to come back. So creating this 3-tier system, there's going to be teams within each tier, and when tier 1 feels like they're at their limits, they can escalate it to tier 2, and those folks can dive into it and things of that nature. A facet of this 3-tier support system is the critical services support tier. So within tier 2, we're allocating 3 existing positions. So these are not net new at this point, to being the critical services support tier. One of those individuals will be on site in this building or next door 5 days a week, 9 hours a day, or up at MSC or traveling between the two. So we have 3 people on that team to make sure that this is staffed and ready to hop at any given moment. What we've established is that there are some departments that have significant safety or financial risk to the city as a result of technology failure. I'll use a county example. I hope that's okay. If county court gets behind by 30 minutes and the first court case of the day, they can spend as much as $10,000 in legal fees paying lawyers to twiddle their thumbs, waiting for the courts to start on time because every case got delayed because of that first. So this support tier is spread across county and city. The cost of it's mostly county because they've got a lot more departments that are in this category. But that's something that we've established and making sure that we deliver more expeditious service to those places that have the highest risk to the city. And then moving on to restructuring applications development team. I don't know if I've introduced Kyle Wilson, who started as our software operations manager, but he's helping drive a more all-of-team approach to software development. Historically, a lot of systems were kind of siloed in management and things of that nature. We're taking a much more group approach. It's actually quite similar to what I experienced when I worked at Don't Panic Labs back in the day. I don't know if any of you are aware, I used to work at Don't Panic Labs, so that is a thing in my past, working in software development, so I have a special thing in my heart for this kind of stuff. We did add a couple FTEs to help in areas that were historically underserved, specifically Oracle program management. So as you're all aware, we've invested a significant amount of money in Oracle. But we've got multiple departments that kind of claim ownership over management, and there's a lot of difficulty when it comes to coordinating and collaboration on that. What we've collectively decided to do, and this is a joint effort of finance and HR and county, to basically establish IS as the system owner and the authority on management of that platform. We anticipate there are going to be at least a 10x return on investment for this position in terms of project efficiencies that we'll gain. So that was a big change there that we're working on changing in the next few weeks. Hopefully, we have enough left over due to empty positions that we can probably start this before the next fiscal period starts. As I mentioned yesterday, CGIS is on track and accelerating. That's something that I'm super excited about. I know with the current funds allocated for this by in the ballpark of $3-ish million, we anticipate to have a large component of largely complete, hopefully, within what we've already got set aside for it. It won't be done, but it's going to be really close, and we're going to have a clear line of sight to the end game from that. So, very excited about that. And then coming soon, we're working on creating dashboards to provide near real-time visibility into project status. So if you're working with our project management team, I'll point out that our project management team does not have to be technology projects. They're project managers through and through. So if you have a project and it's only loosely tangential to IT, but you want us to manage it, we can do that for departments, and we can provide all the dashboarding tools that go along with that as well. So. On to improved procurement processes. Another big change we made is IS funded a new position created in the purchasing team to be dedicated for IT purchases. So we now have somebody that's actively reviewing and in some cases renegotiating IT purchases. In the first month of using this, we've already saved, I think it's around $75,000 in the first month per year, cut out of contracts where there was an error on the contract that came through, and it's like, no, we need to change this, this, and this, and we might have added 1 or 2 days to the procurement process, but we cut 5 figures annually easily, so that position is paid for itself already. And another thing that's been enforced as of the past year is we're forcing all technology purchases across the enterprise to come through our team for review, for security review, a little bit of contract review. In most cases, the legal team takes care of that, but we at least look through the technical details on the contracts when they come through. So I feel like we're getting a lot more consistency in terms of quality of products being deployed compared to what we've seen in the past. That's that. Personnel summary. I didn't use the Excel screenshot. Sorry, I hope that's okay. This is the numbers that I pulled together. Long story short, we added 6 positions since 2025-26 fiscal year. That includes a project manager, a couple in the development team, a couple supervisors in the software and the technical operations department. So largely without asking for more money, because we've been able to find expense cuts to cover this, to work a little smarter. Our performance measures. So I didn't quite understand the implications of reinventing our performance measures 6 months ago, and now in seeing them up on the slideshow that were put together for this. We don't have numbers for the 25-26 year because we basically just started from scratch. I worked with my team and said, all of these numbers, we didn't feel very strongly about their value of the KPIs that were used in the past, and it's like, let's just set it aside and let's not bring that baggage with us. What do we want to measure to provide the best experience for our customers? So these are the numbers that the statistics or the KPIs we came up with. Resolve custom application support requests within 7 days. So we have roughly 150 custom applications that our development team have made over the years. And when requests come in, they can range in complexity from, oh yeah, I can fix that in 5 minutes, to it's going to take me a while to dig into that and reproduce it and things of that nature. So hitting the 1 week turnaround on that as an average is a pretty decent number considering the complexity in play. The second one, resolving software system outages within 12 hours. We generally try to be a lot faster than that, but as far as a metric goes, if something goes down at the end of the day, we hope to have it back online by 8 o'clock the next day, things of that nature. So again, we've got such a wide range of complexity that we deal with. Dialing that in much tighter than that's next to impossible. Sorry, the text is really small on my screen. The third one is infrastructure's unplanned outages are resolved within 2 hours. So that's a server goes down, server crashes, general hardware failures. We try to have something back up within a couple hours. With the amount of redundancy we have, most people never see an outage. We might see an outage. There might be an entire node that dies, but generally most users won't see that. We have contingencies in place for that. And then project-related requests responded to within 1 week. So if somebody comes to us with a new project idea, we'll generally respond and say, we've got it, we're working on it. And within 1 week, we'll come back with a thoughtful response as far as how to initially engage and get things onboarded. So we might not start the project in a week, but we will make a plan for, all right, here's the backlog, and based on what we're hearing, this looks like maybe we hear, this seems like it's a multi-month project. We don't know exactly where it is, but your project is big enough that we need to schedule resources and things of that nature. And here are the hurdles that we see that we're going to need to get across before we can go across the finish line. And that generally helps departments recognize the scale of what they might have just asked for, because sometimes they think, well, we can just install this software and go. It's like, well, if you read the documentation, they say you must have 1 FTE dedicated to managing this application. Have you identified who that is? And do you realize that that's the implication of running the software? Sometimes they don't realize that, and that could potentially torpedo the project before it even starts if they don't accommodate that, or they dive into it without realizing it. So, and moving on to, got only 2 more. Completing a percentage of projects by the agreed upon due date. So basically just meeting our timelines as we start doing the planning on these projects. We want to do that most of the time, obviously, but we understand that in government sometimes things shift and we can't always hit those targets, but we should be able to hit most. And then standard tickets completing within 90 days for fiscal year 26, 60 days for 27, and 30 days for 28. So standard tickets generally are closed within days, but there's so many tickets that come in that are like lingering issues that we're struggling to identify the cause for. I hope we're going to dial this one back in subsequent budgets even more tightly than we've suggested here, but as of right now, with the resources we have and the processes that we've been using, these numbers seem reasonable, but again, we expect to dial those back in the future. So with that, are there questions?
Are there any questions for the director? Alrighty, thank you.
I feel like I won the lottery being the one right before the
Yeah, that always helps. We will now take a 15-minute recess and resume promptly with city law.
Ready?
Bell and KTV ready? I think so.
See if I can do this.
Alrighty, we are back from our brief recess, and now City Attorney Johansi Christie will
Yes.
present.
Thank you. It is my honor and privilege to talk to you today about the law department. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Yes, thank you very much. I am very excited to do this. As you know, the law department, we support all city departments. And so I have jokingly said that we should just go last at these presentations and get up at the end and say, we support everything you just heard. But that's not how it was lined up. So I think there are people that go after me. But we are in the unique position of helping all the departments, and we take that very seriously, and we are very excited about that. Honored to do it. Here is our mission statement. This is actually a new mission statement, which I'm sure you guys were able to tell. Our old mission statement was it was longer and wordier and did not include everything. This is, big picture, and we think it more accurately reflects what we do in our 3 divisions. I also put our values on there. That's just internal. That's we came up with that within the past year internally. We worked together in the office to come up with those values, and we are excited about carrying those values as we move forward with our work. So here are our divisions in the law department. We don't always, not everyone thinks of us as having 3 different divisions, but we do have 3 different divisions. Now, you obviously mostly see the civil division, but these are broken down the order of their size and scope. So civil division first is the largest division. Their scope is very large, right? Touch a lot of different legal issues. And then we have prosecution division next, and then the Commission on Human Rights. The bullet points under each division are just meant to be sort of a high-level overview, and they do not capture everything that we do, but just kind of give you an idea. Here is our org chart. Be happy to answer any questions later at the end of the presentation or now about our org chart, whatever. But we did do some restructuring internally to be more efficient and provide better service. But you can see our divisions broken down there as well.
How many do you have?
How many? Our total?
Yeah.
We have 35. 40, I mean.
35, 40. Yeah.
40. 40, but I...
37 and a half.
So she's counting, which is accurate, law clerks, and we have some 2 part-time that we were able to include as well. So I think she's, which is accurate. That's how we get to 40. So, here are some of the goals and outcomes that we're going to highlight today. I will reiterate, which will be the theme, I think. As I pointed out earlier, we're involved in everything that happens in the city. So we're actually involved in all of the goals and outcomes that are happening across the city in every department. But these are some of the goals and outcomes we're going to highlight today for you. Funding sources, here is what supports our work. The grants would be grants that are received from LCHR, the Lincoln Commission on Human Rights. That would be federal funding. So here are our expenditures. As you will notice, we are heavy personnel, which I think is true for every law firm, right? Every law firm is heavy personnel. We are a law firm. Right, we are the city's law firm. So, prosecution division. This kind of highlights a little bit of their work. I'm just going to highlight a couple things, and maybe some of you have heard this presentation before, but that's okay. I'm going to, or have heard portions of this presentation before, but that's okay. I'm going to say it again. the first bullet point, our prosecutors are able to speak with anyone in the community anytime. So we have people coming into our office constantly, every day, all day, to talk about their tickets or questions about courts or their court case. Usually that's defendants, but sometimes it's other lawyers. Sometimes it's just general members of the community. When they're not sure where to go, they might come up there. I do want to point out, we take that function very, seriously. And a lot of times that might be the first time that someone is interacting with the criminal justice system. And it also might be their first time that they're actually interacting with our local government. Like a lot of times that happens. And so it's a unique opportunity for us in a lot of ways to help them out and point them in the right direction. The second bullet point, I would just point out our prosecutors only prosecute. So we don't have our prosecutors going and doing civil matters or anything else. They only prosecute, and that helps them be very efficient. They know the material, they know what they're doing, they know how to prosecute cases, and again, very efficient and productive. Last thing, vertical prosecution. That has been in effect several years, but it is a change since I got here. And it just means that we assign cases, which mean we call it vertical prosecution because they handle it from the beginning all the way up until it's done. So we assign our more serious, complicated cases. That is meant to help with really communication, whether it's communication with the defendant, defense counsel, witnesses, police officers. There's one, contact for, one point of contact. And really the goal is to provide better service to the community. And we think that in a lot of ways that has helped to accomplish that. It used to be, I know you're wondering, horizontal prosecution is what it used to be, which is just if whoever was there that day would handle the case. And we don't do that anymore on the more serious cases or cases that have a victim. So, Lincoln Commission on Human Rights, we're going to highlight them for a second. Now, I do have another slide presentation on the Lincoln Commission on Human Rights, so we'll talk about them a little bit more later, but they are public facing, and this is an avenue for the members of our community to come to Lincoln Commission on Human Rights. The second bullet point, which is investigation, neutral mediation, investigation, fact-finding, that is the main thing that the Commission on Human Rights does. And then the next bullet point, education and training, the outreach, that's another huge component of their work, but we'll talk about them a little bit more later. So, all right, Civil Division. Now this highlights, some of what we do. Doesn't capture everything, but that is a lot of what we do. When we talk about record-setting pace of private development in the community, which I think was talked about earlier today. Yep, I wasn't here, but I know the schedule. That doesn't happen without the law department, right? We're involved in that. Whether it's, there's lots of ways, right? Some of it's listed there, right? The development agreements, negotiation. There's a lot of land use questions, contracts, you name it. Our office is involved in all of that. So. Going on with a little bit more on the Civil Division, we are in-house legal counsel for the city, and I think that's kind of the easiest way to think about us and what it is that we do. I'm going to highlight some of this. I'm not going to read all the slide to you, but that under vested interest in protecting the taxpayer, that first bullet point under there, strong institutional knowledge of city government. I just want to highlight that. I think that's important. One of the things that we obviously bring to the table. We have a superior understanding of city government. We have many experts in our office, and we know how to get things done, where to go, how to connect people. Experienced attorneys. If we go under the second bullet point, strong relationships with city staff, I'll just highlight, as we all know, relationships matter. We know how to connect the dots. And also, in a lot of ways, we're able to anticipate some of the problems that, or pitfalls, if you will, that might stand in our way to progress, whatever it is that we're trying to do. accessible and responsive. We're available. Our attorneys are here every day, available to take calls from all of you as needed. We also, as I think you are aware of, we have civil attorneys assigned to every department. We have attorneys assigned to divisions as well, the main big divisions. We don't have enough attorneys to be assigned to every division. But again, departments, major divisions, and then we also have focus areas. The legal issues that the city deals with are vast. It's a lot, right? I could just do a presentation on the number of legal issues we touch as a city. But again, we have attorneys that have been doing this for years, or they're at least at the city attorney's office, and that is what they focus on. And they, again, provide a lot of value to the city as in-house legal counsel. Please consider our budget investment. Thank you ahead of time for considering our budget investments. I will tell you that
You're the first one to say that today.
I figured I would say one or two things that you hadn't heard yet. We're asking to add another attorney. You see that on there. I will tell you that we have not added an attorney since 2010. You might wanted to know that. Population in 2010 was, I think, around 228,000. We know what the population is now in the city. It's over 70,000. Internally, our civil matters have increased about at least three times, around 400 to over 1,000 now. Civil matters are just how we keep track of things that we're working on. The way that we keep track of that could never actually account for all the work being done, whether it's boards or commissions or other things that don't get documented as a civil matter or other research, special projects. But that just kind of gives you an idea, and I can confidently say it's three times. I'd also just say that the work has gotten more complicated and complex, right? Whether it's development agreements or initiatives, projects that the city is wanting to take on, they've gotten more complex. As the city grows, things like that are bound to happen. We have not added a paralegal, I believe, since 1998. Wow. Yeah, it's been a while. And again, the city continues to grow. We will talk a little bit about ADA and Title VI when we get to the Commission on Human Rights, but that is a new component of what we're going to be doing. And so that person, if it's approved, would dedicate their time to help and support that new work, and then also being able to help support civil attorneys for their civil work as well. But that's what, when we say ADA Title VI, that's what we're talking about. This slide is meant to capture the hourly rate comparison. Now, this is not an exact science, but we do have a formula that includes overhead and other costs, and that is the 156 number for us. It is hard to quantify, I think, when we talk about billable hours and comparing it to the private sector. But again, we do have a formula that we used for a while, and it's somewhat of a widely accepted formula, like other city attorney's office use a variation of that across the country. Private sector is meant to be an average. I would submit, I think it is a conservative number. When I look at 250 and then specialized private sector at 300, I think that there are attorneys charging more than that, especially in specialized positions. And I think some of you know that. And so I just want to point, I am being conservative when I compare us to the private sector. So here are some of our performance measures. The first one I just talked about with the on the civil division. Second one is for the Lincoln Commission on Human Rights. We do have, when I get to the Commission on Human Rights, the next slide, we do have some more metrics that they are now tracking that I'll point out to you. But this fair resolution of discrimination complaints does not account for what their actual. I'm sorry, I said it reversed. The maintain on-time case around 67% of the time does not actually account for their goal, which is fair resolution of discrimination complaints. So what I mean by that is if it takes longer to negotiate a fair outcome, that works against maintaining an on-case turnaround, right? And so it's sort of, they don't really, they counteract each other. They don't work together well. And so that doesn't factor in whether we're actually meeting our goal or measure. And so again, that's why we are looking at some other metrics that I'll touch on in just a second. If we move down to prosecution, our measure conviction integrity rate. The idea of conviction integrity rate is that we're looking at quality instead of quantity. Prosecutor's role is actually to seek justice and not to just get conviction. Sometimes that is to get a conviction, but not always. That's not always what justice means, right? I think we all understand that. So conviction integrity rate, we're just looking at how are our cases getting overturned by courts, right? Are judges telling us this was not justice, you did something wrong. We used to track conviction rate, just what's our conviction rate out of cases we're filing. We still track that, and that's still well over 90%. But again, we're now moving to tracking whether judges are telling us we're doing things wrong or not. Again, I focusing on quality. So, in closing, everything that happens in the city comes to the law department. Every new initiative needs legal support, needs to be vetted by law. Everything that we're trying to do needs to be in compliance with the law. General guidance, everyday guidance of operating the city is necessary. It is necessary to involve the law department as well. So we are very, very, very busy as the city continues to grow. So happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for the city attorney? Alrighty, thank you.
I do have. I'll go through the Commission on Human Rights. Okay, I have some, and I will move quickly if you'd like. But there is our mission statement. It's no small task just to eliminate all forms of illegal discrimination. So very daunting task. Here is their org chart. Some of the, I'm not going to read all this to you, but their two main functions, as I pointed out, are the first two. I do want to highlight that last bullet point, which you can see is new. I touched on it a little bit earlier, but the director of the Commission on Human Rights, Ms. Reyes, who is here, is going to be coordinating the city's compliance with the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, and Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. And that includes investigations of discrimination, harassment, retaliation with programs that are receiving federal fund, and also includes compliance. When we have federal money, there's a lot of compliance that we need to stay on top of, and we are taking that over in the law department within the Lincoln Commission on Human Rights, which again, thank you ahead of time for considering our budget investments, but one of our requests, their duty will be to help out with that as well, which again is a new task that we're taking on. So, and a very necessary for the city. This kind of gives you an idea of cases that were filed in the past year, and those are just new cases filed. That doesn't mean cases that were already pending, right? Those are just cases that were filed for that year. We have 2 investigators, right? So you can do the math. And that tells you how the cases ended up, those 76 cases. NRC means no reasonable cause. So. Outreach and education is another huge part of what the Commission on Human Rights does. The first bullet point, you can see interact with over 8,000 individuals, right? And the way we essentially keep track of that is whatever outreach we're doing in the community, we track people that we interacted with, right? We just tally how many people did we talk to at this event over the year, and that's how we come up with that number. This highlights some of their efforts with the One Lincoln Initiative, which is one of the mayor's initiatives. Obviously, the annual Civil Rights Conference, I think a lot of you are aware of. That's a huge conference put on every year. It takes a lot of effort. We're very excited about that. We continue to have each year more and more city, county employees attending that, and we continue to build on that. Very excited about that. And that's a wonderful picture.
Of you?
Yes. And others as well, not just me. And that was, I think, actually after one of our coffee and conversations, which we've started putting on a regular basis, and some of you have attended. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Boards and commissions. This just highlights some of the boards and commissions that they work on. The first one, Lincoln Commission on Human Rights, is a very active board, right? That's the commission meets monthly. That's the board that's hearing the investigations, making determinations. Very active board. Some of you, I think, have served on that board before. We appreciate their service to the community. I'm almost done. My City Academy is another initiative that Lincoln Commission on Human Rights is involved in right now that we're very excited about. The idea is they help new Americans engage with their local government, help them learn about local government. They're able to meet some of their government officials and teach them how to interact and be engaged. It's been really successful. The more engaged we all are, the better off for all of us, right? So, and I think we've had some graduates from that program go sit on city boards and commissions. Yeah, I'm aware of at least 2. So again, very successful. We're excited about that. These are just some of the new metrics that we have started tracking. The first 3 bullet points are the new metrics that we're focusing on. That last bullet point sort of summarizes how we've done with those first 3 bullet points. And the LCHR initiated workshops, you can see that last bullet point, it says 4. I just point out, obviously they've done much more workshops, but these are ones that we initiated and put on, but we have jointly done lots of workshops throughout the year. But again, we're focusing on LCHR initiated workshops. So, and with that, happy to answer any questions about LCHR or if something has come up with the law department. We do have Director Reyes here as well from the Commission on Human Rights. So,
Any questions? Alrighty, thank you.
all right,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Next up would be our libraries presentation. Welcome up Director Weber.
Good afternoon, Chair Weber and council members. Glad to be here. Ryan Weber, Director at Lincoln City Libraries, 136 South 14th Street. Thinking of leading off with a statement similar to Johansi. Please support this budget. I like that.
Not yet.
He's not done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a building. Go ahead.
Glad to be here. I know it's been a long day. I just want to share the good news about the library and to give you an example at a high level of what our budget looks like for the next couple of years, and then some of the things that we're undertaking. First of all, our mission statement is Lincoln City Libraries provides access to information, ideas, books, and lifelong learning opportunities that inform, enrich, and empower every individual in our diverse community. In our organizational chart, not too complex, we've got about 130 staff. That translates into about 108 FTEs spread across the entire library system. And you can see that our library admin, library assistant library director reports to me, our buildings and grounds, which right now consist of 1 staff person, and then our virtual services team, which is our own internal IT department. And then beneath that, we have support services. That's the team that processes and catalogs and gets things ready for all of our libraries. Our public services team, that's our librarians and library service associates. And then our youth services team, which consists of about 2.5 FTEs right now. Just a high-level look at our funding for the next couple of years. We get, again, most of our funding from operating tax. 84% of that comes from the city. We have an agreement with the county for service as well. We provide service throughout the entire county. That equals 9%, and that's just a distribution of the per capita needs across the city and the county. And then we get Keno funding, so we share that mostly with Parks and Rec. 35% of the Keno funding comes to the libraries, and for us that equals about 6% of our budget. And that Keno funding goes fully for library media. Media means books and audio books, DVDs, and then a small percentage of that goes towards technology as well. So all of our tech upgrades comes from our Keno funding. Super important. And then we do not have book fines anymore, as you may know. So we do have a minor amount of charges and fees. That's lost books or copy costs, equals close to about 1% of funding for that. Looking at our expenditures for 26-27, to put my glasses on, I'm having trouble seeing this. Look at the big screen here. Most of that, again, goes to personnel costs, about 60%. A larger increase for the debt service this next couple years, 14%. You heard the mayor yesterday mention that approximately 1.3 to 1.4 million over the next couple of years will go towards paying off the debt service for the new central library. Not paying it off, but that annual payment. And then capital outlay, what that represents is not necessarily buildings or equipment, but that's where we categorize all of our media. So when we buy books, that gets categorized as capital outlay. Other services and charges, 12%. So contracts, supplies, some materials, mainly things that keep the library running, so utility costs, insurance costs, plowing our lots, and keeping security paid. One significant change, I want to highlight this. So it's been nearly a couple decades since we've had significant increase in our FTEs. And what we're looking at is increasing 5.5 FTEs over the course of the next 2 years. Significant needs for servicing public desks, three LSAs. Those are our library service associates. Those are folks who are on the front line and working with the public. Those will be added in year 1 across the system. We're going to divvy that up and look at where our highest needs are. But I think all service units will be touched with those 3. And then we're also adding a full-time maintenance worker, 1, which is huge for us. We've got currently around 180,000 square feet of library space and 1 maintenance worker supervising or attending to that. So this is going to be a huge thing for us to be able to make sure our buildings are safe and up to date, and we're taking care of some deferred maintenance along the way. And then in year 2, we're looking ahead towards the new central library. We envision that some of those LSAs most likely will transfer to the new facility. And then we're also going to add a full-time children's librarian. It's important as we look ahead to that building to make sure that we're staffing all those public service desks and still meeting the needs of the central library, but across the system as well. Yes.
Director,
Councilman
Chair,
Beck, yes.
Do you anticipate that Lincoln City Libraries will continue to use an external third-party vendor for property maintenance management services, or are you thinking that eventually that will all move in-house?
At this point, this budget is based on contracting with an outside vendor, but there are possibilities down the road for.
At enhanced service levels when it comes to the building and grounds maintenance.
Yeah, are you referring to across the system or just downtown?
Across the system.
Yeah, I think right now we're satisfied with the service that we receive, and it's pretty affordable. But we are always looking for ways where we can lessen the burden not only on our facilities team, but look at ways where we can save money.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you, Chair.
Taking a look at some of our outcomes that we're trying to meet. Libraries are an investment in an equitable and inclusive city. I just want to point out that we're pretty unique here. We provide service at nearly all of our branches 6 to 7 days a week. And when we do that, we make the neighborhood safer. We make the neighborhoods, we add to the quality of life. We provide help for kids and students in school, and providing a way for people to be connected to their neighbors and neighborhoods. Something big this year, we just deployed 2 new bookmobiles, first new bookmobiles in over a decade. It was time to replace the lead sponsored big bus, and I'm happy to report that our new bookmobiles, the service is great and the response from the community is overwhelming. We're working hard. Our youth services and outreach team are doing a great job of, they took a new look at our service model. And we're still maintaining the service to regular stops at sites across the city and the county. But what we're also doing is we're providing more outreach in terms of festivals and pop-up events and farmers markets. And we offer residents the opportunity to put in a request for that service to come to their neighborhood for a one-time event. So it's going really well. I mentioned it's important that our neighborhood libraries reflect their communities, and we want people to feel ownership in them. And one way we do that is not only through great programming or collections or resources, but art. Art has played a big role the last couple of years in terms of making sure that we're connecting with the community. And what you see in these images here are, of course, the image on the left is a photograph of the artist Chloe Burgett, who created the mural at the South Branch. Eddie Dominguez and his sculpture at Isley Branch. And then just a couple months ago, we installed Javon Wood's piece that was honoring the MLK Youth Rally, and that is at Gear Library right near the front circulation desk. Of course, the Central Library seems to be making a lot of news right now. We're well on pace for beginning demo work and construction late summer, early fall. But it's a crucial thing for the city to show its investment in community and education and lifelong learning and enhancing quality of life. The community is really excited about this building. It's going to add another 85,000 square foot facility to the system that will have great amenities that will show what a modern library is all about. So it's not just about books, but it's about, again, programs, partnerships with local organizations that provide better programming, provide unique opportunities, such as our teaching kitchen, our Poly Music Library, and our Heritage Room and Nebraska authors will be highlighted on the second floor. And we're hopeful to make an announcement over the next few months on who some of the partners will be in the building, because the building is larger than what we need for our library program. And it's going to have a rooftop auditorium that we know will be useful for everything that the library does, but also available for community use as well. And things are moving along really well with that and on time. We take pride in listening to our community and what they expect with a public library, but we're also grateful that we have an incredible team at the library who put on outstanding programs and come up with ways to provide services that have great value to what our residents hope for in a public library. One example here, it's shown, is our One Book, One Lincoln program, where we involve the community from start to finish, from nominating books to eventually selecting the books, and then in the fall we bring the winning author in for a program. And this is Dr. Win Fan Wei Mai, and she came here from Kazakhstan last fall. We had a great turnout at Lincoln High School. And I think you see a gentleman there who was a Vietnam vet. Her book was based on the Vietnam War, and this Vietnam vet was there in attendance, and it was a neat scene. Also, our staff, we offer an opportunity through a program that we call the Innovation Grant Program, where in partnership with our Library Foundation, we encourage staff through a formal process to submit ideas for new programming, new services, and it's competitive. And we've started that a couple of years ago. We have had probably over the course of the 2 years, 15 to 20 different programs that those library staff members have been awarded with in terms of funding for some of these programs. Libraries are an investment in a safe and healthy city. Summer Reading Challenge, just real briefly, it's going like gangbusters. Last year we saw a 24% increase in participation. This year we're up about 25 to 30% already. That's a great sign. As you know, we're also partnering with Centerpoint for a resource care worker at Bennett Martin Library, which will continue at the new Central Library. And then looking ahead to some CIP or capital improvement projects, we're anticipating investing in work at all of our buildings, including on the north, the south, downtown, and we're taking care of some basic necessities to make sure our buildings are safe. Electric panel replacements, fire panel replacements, looking at some flooring upgrades and window replacements. Just want to show you real quick where we're at activity-wise. I think it's always helpful to get an understanding that, yes, we're still busy. We're busier in different ways compared to past years, past decades, but people are still coming into the library. You can see there's still growth there. We do expect that the new Central Library will reinvigorate and remind people of how valuable a library is. That will, of course, increase traffic at the new Central Library, but also increase traffic system-wide. Just to look quickly at our circulation across the last 3 years. You can see, if you notice the green, the digital content circulation continues to grow, but it's still books and print that people desire and that we provide. And you can see the growth there slightly over the last 3 years. And then you can see in that pie chart to the left there, just the breakdown between physical and digital circulation. Physical 66% and electronic 34%. Looking at circulation by branch, Gear is the busiest branch in visits and circulation, followed by Isley, Walt, and Bennett Martin. I think that bookmobile number at the top, it's kind of small, 17,000 items checked out last year. You're going to see that grow significantly over the next year. Looking at event attendance, meeting room usage, close to 80,000 folks attended children and teen programs, 18,000 attended adult programs, and then our meeting spaces and study spaces are used quite a bit as well. Computer reservations, it's Bennett Martin that is the busiest in that activity, followed by Isley and then Walt and Gear. And that's my presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions you have.
Alrighty, thank you, Director Weber. Are there any questions from council? Alrighty, thank you for that presentation. Next up would be the Parks Department, Parks and Recreation Department to be exact.
Here from Parks.
And we can take maybe here.
Stand up.
We will take a brief 5-minute recess. Alrighty.
Chair Robert.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get going. Is Ellen Kate ready? All righty.
She's left the building.
Oh, she's actually
Yes.
gone. Oh,
Yep.
I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, great.
Alrighty, we will resume our budget presentations with our Parks and Rec Director, Maggie Stuckey-Ross.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for the pre-applause. Yes, I'm Maggie Stuckey-Ross from Parks and Recreation. I am pleased to be joined today by several members of our team, and if you'll let me, I'm just going to introduce everybody. Here to answer all your tough questions. That's really, we've stacked the bench here. So we have Holly Lewis, Wade Foreman, Sandra Finn, JJ Yost, Mike Comstock, Sean Quinn, Angie Quinn, and Chris Myers. So our team, as you know, is divided into several family trees, but we are one family. We have our park operations family, the recreation group, planning and facilities group, and the municipal golf group. You all are familiar with our mission, but I'll remind you we are fundamental to youth development, active, healthy living for all, livable neighborhoods, environmental stewardship, special places and special events, and economic development. A few things to point out from the last couple of years. Our team has made great strides. We just announced that our park score for 2026, we moved up to 25th in the country. That's out of the top 100 large-sized cities in the United States. We're ranked 25th, which we're really, really excited about. That upper right-hand corner is the new Fit Block. We were selected by Compan, which is a playground manufacturing company, to receive this Fit Block installation at Tierra Park. It's awesome. If you haven't been there, go visit. Basically, it's an outdoor gym, and it's right along the trail, and it's getting a ton of use. You maybe saw the Step Up to Quality Step 5 rating that our Nature Center preschool just announced about a month ago. Our Belmont snack, which is the, I didn't even think about that, Brody. I wasn't even pandering. I just included it. The School Neighborhood Advisory Council at Belmont received the snack of the year from our Lincoln CLC groups, which is awesome. And then that lower picture, we had 2 awards at the Nebraska Prescribed Fire Council Awards this year. We received an agency award for the education we're doing in prescribed fire, and our district supervisor, Aaron Drury, also received the Lead Igniter Award, which not only is the coolest sounding award out there, but also just represents his leadership in prescribed burns and the fact that people are taking note of what we're doing. So moving into the expenditures, I think you've seen a lot of these charts today from the budget book, so I won't go into an extreme amount of detail here. You'll see that our total number here is 38,122,027 in 26-27, and then 38,831,834. Vast majority of that is in the general fund, or excuse me, from the general fund. You'll see Keno's on there. Golf, of course, is part of it, and a couple other smaller funds as well, which is shown then on this page. So expenditure by type. Obviously, personnel is a big piece of what we do. Without the people, we can't do what we do. So that's the vast majority of our budget. The other categories are on there as well: materials and supplies, capital outlay, debt service. Nothing extremely different than what you've seen before from our division. User fees are part of our funding. We know that we provide activities and opportunities for people every day that are free and available to all, but we do have fees that we charge to help make up the difference of providing some of those programming. Factors include the current market rate in Lincoln for similar services, particularly in before and after school care and camps. We want to make sure we're keeping pace with other folks in the area. And then there are small incremental increases due to the increased costs we're seeing across the board. I'll point out our increases that we have in the budget today for swim lessons and pool rentals. As a reminder, we have many reduced fee opportunities that are available to all members of the community. They're based on family income for many of our youth programs, and we also need to provide those to maintain eligibility as a licensed provider. So that's something that's not going to change for us. Anytime an individual in the community wants information about those reduced fee opportunities, they can just call our main office. Here is our FTE chart. Going into this budget, we are at 254.49. We are looking at a very nominal increase to 257.71. Those 3 additional FTEs are adding to our golf professional staff, adding to our park planning staff, and also a park planning assistant. So these are 3 positions that we have been looking at as part of our strategic plan, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but we're really excited and grateful for the opportunity to bring those folks on. The golf staff there is listed separately, and the changes you see in the golf full-time are adjustments that this team has made with how work is flowing and where needs are. So they have reduced some of the staff that they need to do their work. So the budget before you today invests in programs and services to help build a more vibrant and equitable city. First, we're talking economic development. We are continuing to invest in capital projects to maintain our levels of service and improve access across the community. Wanted to throw out a few projects that you'll see in this budget. We're going to continue our renovation of neighborhood and community park playgrounds. You all know, depending on the playground equipment that's used, most of our playgrounds get about 25 years of life. We need to be replacing them on a regular cycle so that they're safe and they're also relevant to today. We're going to continue to do that. ADA compliance improvements are always a priority for us. We're going to continue to make those improvements across the facilities. New neighborhood parks and trail segments to serve the expanding footprint of the city in those edge areas. We want to make sure that when people are buying homes, they have access to our facilities and amenities. A couple big projects to point out along the Rock Island Trail. We will be working on a widening project of the Rock Island from A Street to the Busalis Trail, which is basically at Nebraska Parkway. That's one of our narrowest stretches of trails, and it's also one of our busiest stretches of trails. If you've ever walked with someone on that trail, there's a lot of this that's happening, which is not only extra exercise for you as you're going, but we need to widen that trail just to reflect the users. We're also working with our partners at LTU on the underpass for Rock Island at Old Cheney, which is one of the worst trail crossings, I think, in the system, and we're ready to get people off the street. And then finally, I would put out that the Antelope Park Playground, which was dedicated in 1999, has reached and now exceeded that 25-year mark. That is the next inclusive playground renovation that's on the horizon. It's a big one. It's already a big playground. We're dreaming big about that, especially after all of the positive feedback we've received after redoing Mahoney. So Antelope Park is part of this. Second category, building infrastructure that supports a strong and resilient Lincoln. We're going to continue to take care of our existing infrastructure in our parks and along our trails. That's our sidewalks, our roadways and parking lots, drinking fountains, etc. We are continuing to fund the EAB Response and Recovery Program. Even though EAB is not a headline like it used to be, we are still in the thick of the impact of EAB in this community, and we still need those funds. And finally, providing funding for EV and alternate fuel fleet vehicles to contribute to the city's effort to lower greenhouse gases and also decrease fuel costs. Protect the health and safety of our families and communities. We're going to continue to invest in those parks and trails because of the benefits that they provide. We know that there's mental benefits and physical benefits to being active. We continue to see increased trail usage across the system, still will be a priority for us. Of course, it is pool season. It is hot out there today. Our pools are happy to be full of people. We are going to continue to provide welcoming facilities for people to engage in active living and have those breaks from the real world. And then, of course, our community forestry division proactively caring for our urban public trees. Last one is growing an equitable and inclusive community with a high quality of life. Many of you know that we are a daily provider of school-age programs allowing parents to work while their children learn and play. We have 417 children participating in summer day camp every day this summer. It's a huge number. We have an incredible staff taking care of these kids and providing an awesome summer experience. So I wanted to highlight that for you. Continued incorporation of inclusive playground equipment. Just because we're redoing a playground and not calling it an inclusive playground, we are making these playgrounds more inclusive than they've ever been before by selecting play equipment that all children can play on. That will continue to be a priority. A reminder that F Street Community Center is unique in the system, providing daily meals, just distributing food and supplies for people in need, and facilitating a lot of services for those neighborhood residents. And finally, as you know, we are a CLC provider. We're a lead agency. We're going to continue to invest in that. It supports youth, it supports families, it supports neighborhoods. We're very proud to be part of the CLC family. So I mentioned this before, our department has recently undertaken a department strategic planning exercise. We've spent the last 18 months looking at what it means to be Parks and Recreation. We started with a look at what is a day in the life of Parks and Rec. Every single one of our team members who come in, what are they doing? How are they doing it? Do they have the resources they need to do it? And what is the mandate for us to be doing that work? We came out with a strategic plan where we're going to focus in the next 5 years in 4 core areas. The first is urban forest management. I think you'll see this budget is reflective of that priority, equitably managing and expanding the tree canopy to maximize all the benefits that we know about trees. The second is quality community spaces and places. This is providing accessible, welcoming parks and recreational facilities that serve a diversity of community needs. The third is the programming piece, wellness, learning, and community connections. This is delivering innovative and inclusive programming that promotes health and learning for all ages at all stages. And finally, public trust and stewardship. This is really important. We want to make sure that the public recognizes we're an organization of continuous improvement. We adapt, we excel. We are working together to align our resources with the priorities of this community and communicate clearly with members of our community as well. So our team has put a lot of time into this, and I'm excited at a future meeting to talk a little bit more about those action steps. As a result, our performance metrics that you're seeing here are the performance metrics that we had in the last budget. But with our new strategic plan, we are going to be looking to update those performance metrics to be more reflective of the work we're doing today. You'll see several of them continue to be related to trees. We've got an ash tree removal on there, replacing ash trees. We have the tree pruning cycle on there. Number 5 is the 10-minute walk to a park and ensuring that our population, that we're striving to get a 10-minute walk for the majority of our population. Park acres as a percentage of total city acres, trail miles per square mile, and of course rounds of golf. So in the future, we will be having conversations with you and with the mayor's office about what we actually want to adapt these performance metrics to be. I'll point out as an example, recreation is not represented today in our performance metrics. It's a huge part of our work, and I think we need to have a better reflection of that in this particular area. Talked already about trees, but I know several of you have approached me about trees in various ways over the last several months. So just pointing out that tree investment continues to be strong. Mayor is very committed to ensuring that we have the resources that we need to not only get caught up, but also get ahead of the game in our street tree programming. So you'll see the proposed CIP numbers there that have been included for trees, and we are grateful and hopeful that you're also supportive of that. Finally, let's talk about golf. Golf, the shining star of the family. No, we don't have favorites, but Wade's doing really well. Golf is managed as an enterprise fund. If you try to get a tee time at golf at one of our city courses right now, you're going to be surprised to look at those tee sheets. Things are going great at golf. Operating expenses and capital improvements are funded through revenues from those green fees. We have a CIP surcharge that golfers pay. Of course, the golf cart rentals, memberships, learning programs, and range balls. We have seen golf usage increase by approximately 30% over the last 6 years. And you'll see that chart on the right that indicates the number of rounds of golf by golf course. What I think is really interesting is the 4 18-hole courses are all kind of ranking the same. We used to not have that. It used to be there was a clear golf course that was getting the most rounds and one that was getting the least rounds. Everybody is kind of hanging out about the same number of rounds, which is fantastic. Last year, golf rounds, 240,000, 20 rounds, most rounds of golf played since 1997. So things are great in golf, and we anticipate that will continue. So like I said, I've got my team here. We are ready for the hardest questions you want to ask. And also I'm happy to talk about anything offline.
Are there any questions for Director? Any Councilman Duden?
I didn't hear you mention or talk about equipment upgrades that I think maybe the city needs, especially as it pertains to tree trimming and supporting that effort, because we continually get more and more claims, as you know, from broken branches. Lincoln's taken a real beating the last couple of years because of storms and what have you, and I think we got a real problem with that. So
Yeah.
I wanted to see if budget-wise, is there some room there to do something with that more?
Sure, and thank you for the question. One of our priorities in the strategic plan is specifically related to forestry equipment and looking at what options are out there. Right now, we are using aged equipment, and we are struggling to, from the time we place an order to the time we receive a new vehicle, it is years. We are waiting years for equipment. So we need to rethink how we're doing this. We need to rethink what our strategy is, what our resources are. Right now, I would say we don't have a clear direction on what that plan will look like. Are there resources needed? I can assure you there are. I think, we've talked about leasing equipment. There are several communities around us who do that, who share equipment between municipalities. I think there's lots of... Right. I think there's lots of options that we could look at. In the budget, it would reflect where we're at today. There's no large equipment purchases for forestry, really for any division in the budget, to specifically answer your question.
Any other questions for Director? I have two quick questions.
Sure.
So the first one is great golf numbers. I love seeing that. What do you attribute, or what does the department attribute that 30% increase as it relates to golf?
Wade's up.
All right. I'd say it's a number of couple factors. Obviously, COVID helped bring a lot of people that just had clubs maybe in their garage or somewhere, but hadn't played for a number of years. So they got back into the game, and they're continuing to keep playing. The other thing is we've kind of standardized our quality of care at all the courses. So like Maggie was saying, we used to have a couple courses that were not in the same shape as the other ones. We've got it all pretty standardized now, so the conditions are all very uniform. So any place anybody goes, we're seeing, conditions the same, and golfers enjoying those conditions, repeatedly coming back, time and time again.
Yeah.
A couple other factors, Yankee Hill closed. That was a private course that closed, so that kind of shrunk the market. That's been a while ago, but we were seeing a little increase from that. And then Wilderness Ridge went completely private, so that kind of shrunk the public golf area was a little more too. So it's a number of those factors, but we're seeing, just continued, from that growth from COVID, we're actually seeing a little more growth after that, which is great that people are continuing to golf.
Awesome. Well, yeah, no, that's great. I didn't know if it was that or, Carl Eskridge has been retired for some time now, so I didn't know if maybe that was attributed to it. But
well, I think,
and I know he likes Highlands,
yes,
right? So
yeah.
I like seeing those numbers.
But I think that some of it too is there's a lot of baby boomers and stuff that are now starting to retire, and so there's a lot of people with time to golf and things. So it's a great.
Are you making the holes bigger?
Well, at Jim Ager, we have the soccer golf. So if you want to hit in that, those are pretty big.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love seeing those numbers, and I love seeing it reflected then in the enterprise fund. So I'm really happy for the city's investment in our golf courses over the last decade, really. So thank you for that.
Great to have some capital improvements going back in our courses, some big numbers.
Absolutely. Thank you. And then, Director, my other question relates to pools, right? Top of mind right now, especially for me, thinking of Arnold Heights, thinking of Belmont, thinking of Highlands. I noticed I guess, are there plans to continue having a maintenance repair fund? And if so, I guess that's my first question related to pools.
I will start, and if we're talking facilities, I'll have JJ get on deck, pun intended.
Yep.
One of our action items in the strategic plan is leaning heavily into aquatics and doing an assessment not only of the facilities that we have, but also the programming that we offer, the communities that we're serving, doing benchmarking against some of our other peer communities, figuring out what does Lincoln need, what can it support, what's our role. We are seeing a lot of changes in aquatics that aren't just related to facilities. The swim skills are declining. People aren't learning how to swim. We have seen a lot of shifts in aquatics. And so the strategic plan specifically calls that out, and hoping we can be proactive and have a conversation with the community about the future of aquatics in Lincoln. What do we need to do next? Today, as it stands, we have aging facilities. I mean, we just had a meeting today about Irving's 70th birthday, which is in July. So, JJ, I might have you touch on what the budget is reflecting in terms of that.
Sure, yeah. So the proposed CIP includes continued repair replacement funding for the pools. What we know is just what Maggie said. We have aging infrastructure. We try to, in the off season, look at what things we feel are on their last leg and make timely repair and replacements. But inevitably, we get to the start of the season and we fire up the pools, and this year was no different. Things happen.
Yeah.
So we've been fortunate to have the CIP dollars to quickly move into action to get replacement parts and pieces and get those things going. But it's for sure that this is going to be the ongoing case every year, and to be a little bit more proactive about it to try to better forecast what those needs are going forward. We are working with a pool consultant this summer that's going to take an in-depth look at all 9 of our pool facilities, meet with our staff to understand kind of there's a lot of workarounds we do out there right now to make things work, to keep things going. They're going to take a good look at that and help us put together a more in-depth or extended budget of what is going to be needed to keep these facilities in working order going forward, and help us maybe make some decisions on what do we need to cut the ties on in terms of, is it just time to say quit investing in that particular mechanical system and go to a complete repair and replacement? We need some professional guidance on that, and we're looking to get that this summer.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate you saying that. Obviously, however, I can be supportive of getting that professional guidance here. I think our pools are one of our greatest assets as a city, especially I know the folks in Northwest Lincoln feel that way. And I think having that maintenance repair fund has been critical in being able to bring some of our pools back online so quickly this summer. And so I want to make sure that that's an investment that the city continues to make.
Completely agree. A lack of funding has not led to any of these closures or for long. We're taking the steps immediately to take. It's just a case of getting the materials, and the aging equipment is just hard to fix and replace.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and yeah, that's a conversation I'd like to continue to have this summer as we evaluate the budget. So thank you.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. Are there, Councilman Beckius?
Yeah. Just piggybacking off of Chair Weber's comments, as he stated he wanted to continue to evaluate, I guess one tool that might be useful in continuing that evaluation is the expenditures from the last year's expenditure from council of, I think, 1.5 million, as to those expenditures that have been exercised from that point forward, to see where that fund exists today.
Yeah, we have not, fortunately, we have not used all 1.5 million at this time, but certainly a good share of it has gone into place, and we're tracking that very closely and can provide that information of exactly how that has been put to use.
Yeah, that'd be great. JJ, if you could provide that, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Are there any other questions? Councilman Schob.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Maggie, and your staff. Yeah, jump up here. Yeah.
On behalf of, I say.
You're doing great work. Thanks, Benny. We want to help you do a little bit more. Earlier this week, I had a resident call me and ask me with a question, and your staff got me an answer back in about 15 seconds. It was incredible. I moved on to something else, and they responded. So you're doing great things for the community, and like the chair said, and Mr. Becky has said, we're looking forward to helping.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you very much.
Appreciate it. Any other questions? All righty.
Right. More to
Thank
come.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Next up would be the presentation for the City Council Department, well, branch of government. I'll pass it off to Sherry Wolf to discuss.
Okay. It's going to be hard to follow, right?
Yeah.
Sherry Wolf-Durble with the City Budget Office. Thank you. I'm flattered to get to help walk you guys through the City Council portion of the mayor's budget. But I want to follow Maggie's lead first and introduce you to my budget team. I have a couple of new budget analysts since the last time we got to do a biennial budget. Chad Moore and Anthony Leach. You guys can just kind of wave. And my seasoned veteran, Claire.
Awesome.
And so they've been doing the budget marathon with me for a few weeks, so I just wanted
Let's
to
give the
take a
team
minute
a
to
round of
introduce-
applause. Thank you.
Let us know if you need more caffeine. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Got
I'm
some
just
right
gonna
here.
walk you through your slides, if that's all right. All right, I gotta find my buttons here. Okay, I'm gonna read you the mission that we have in the budget book for the City Council. The City Council's mission is to establish a policy direction and provide service priorities for the City of Lincoln and all staff members, expand opportunities for effective citizen communications and community engagement through neighborhood investment, exert an active role of promoting Lincoln through partnerships with local, national, and international counterparts. So I'm going to confess that we try to be efficient and not reinvent the wheel. So when we brought this mission forward from our PowerPoint presentation, the last time we did this, I had a little note on there that said, this is on the City Council's website. So while I've been spending the afternoon with you, I kind of went and looked at the City Council's website. I didn't really see it on there right now. So please rest assured this is your mission, and so if you would like to give us any direction on any updates or anything like that, we'd be happy to do that for you. You're probably not surprised to see your organization chart. I won't spend a lot of time on that. You also don't have a huge variety of funding sources. You are funded by the general fund. So thank you, it's very easy for us to track your budget and account for it. So keeps it very simple. This is probably about the only interesting slide that we have for you. Traditionally, like so many of our city departments, your biggest expenditure has been personnel costs.
Sure.
For the first time, this budget does reflect funding under contractual services for council aides.
Sure.
So that's really the only change in your budget. There are some other contractual changes driven by increases in your rent, your IS rates, your utilities. I should add that cost of living increases for council staff, including the aides, is included. What else do you have to know about your budget? I should look over here where I actually made some notes and see if I'm forgetting to tell you anything.
Yeah, what's that $200 capital outlay equipment? Is that for Brody's chair?
Yeah, no, it's better not be.
Is that a carry forward? Can you tell me off the top of your head?
How much item is that?
The $200 for equipment, it probably is just a minimum thing to replace a chair or something like that that might carry forward. The other thing that impacted your budget a little bit were some initiatives, mostly for technology, that Carl and Joe talked about earlier, that the City Council's allocation of those initiatives increased your budget a little bit as well.
Yep.
No change in full-time equivalents.
All right.
Any
Best
questions or
part.
directions for us?
No.
Did you say we get to leave early, Sherry?
I will just remind you that we get to do this again on Thursday.
Oh, my God.
Are you looking forward to it? Yes. So we'll be back on Thursday to do it over again, and then we'll be looking forward to working with you through and into July. I think your first deadline is on July 10th to indicate if you do have changes that you want to discuss. So Thank you guys for your patience.
Sounds good.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry.
We don't need a motion, right? No, since it's a presentation. All righty. We are adjourned for the day.
Thank you, finance team. We get an email from Chad every